The era of universal class change descended upon the world, and Lin Yi awakened as the archer class. In his past life, he had no understanding of how to play as an archer. He possessed a brilliant mind, but lacked the corresponding operational skills, ultimately meeting his end in regret. Even the girl he loved most died before his eyes. Now he was reborn. Reborn with the correct archer strategy he had developed in his past life. No! Lin Yi suddenly shouted, instantly drawing the attention of everyone in the classroom. Even Lin Yi's deskmate, the school beauty, Su Wanning, looked at him in surprise as he jolted awake from his dream, then quickly covered her mouth with a light laugh. Lin Yi looked around in confusion at the familiar classroom, familiar classmates, and the familiar face beside him. Su Wanning. He quickly understood. He was reborn. Ignoring the mocking looks of others, Lin Yi asked hoarsely, "What's the date today?" Su Wanning was confused and instinctively replied, January 4th, 2024. What's wrong with you? Lin Yi's heart jolted. He quickly looked up at the clock in the center of the classroom, his pupils suddenly contracting. 1413. Only 1 minute left. In 1 minute the time would become 1414. January 4th, 2024, 1414. This was the time Lin Yi would never forget. At that moment, an unimaginable strangeness would descend upon Blue Star. Everyone would suddenly awaken a mysterious class, and Blue Star would fully enter the era of universal class change. At that time, killing was no longer forbidden. A survival became the only goal for everyone. His deskmate, Su Wanning, would be forcibly mutated by the strangeness into a bloodthirsty evil spirit. The purpose of the evil spirit was to kill humans. Killing the evil spirit was the first trial from the Skyward Spirit Tower for humanity. But Su Wanning was someone Lin Yi could not kill. In his youthful, budding adolescence, he had had a secret crush on her for many years. He had planned to formally pursue her after university, but the era of universal class change arrived before college. In his past life, he had watched helplessly as Su Wanning mutated into an evil spirit, was killed by the crowd, unable to do anything. Even more unbearable for Lin Yi was that in his past life, dying Su Wanning lay in his arms, her crimson eyes filled with tenderness, and she tremblingly spoke the 4 words hidden in her heart for years. "I like you." She had liked him too. These 4 words caused Lin Yi excruciating pain every sleepless night in his past life. Because of this, Lin Yi's past life had been muddled. He became nothing but a shell left only with the word Besides this, Lin Yi had another reason: he must save Su Wanning. As a reborn person, he knew clearly that the evil spirit was a hidden class with extremely strong combat power after the class change. Since he could be reborn once, then this time, he must save Su Wanning and rewrite the ending of his past life. "Lin Yi, if you're going to sleep, then sleep quietly. Don't disturb the other students." The math teacher was scolding Lin Yi helplessly during the lesson. Lin Yi was excellent in math, so the teacher usually turned a blind eye. But Lin Yi had no time to bother with the math. He was rapidly recalling every detail of the strangeness arrival. The clock's hand moved a 30. Lin Yi suddenly remembered that past life players had discovered that the evil spirit was born through a sudden pus bubble on the chest, which released strange energy to control human consciousness, instantly turning them into mindless killing machines. That meant if he could destroy the pus bubble before it formed, the person turning into an evil spirit could regain their senses. Time was short. He had to race against the clock. Sweeping his gaze once, Lin Yi snatched the fountain pen from Su Wanning's hand. Only 10 seconds remained. Su Wanning stared blankly, her eyes wide. "Lin Yi, what are you doing?" Lin Yi knew that no amount of explanation would help now. Su Wanning probably wouldn't understand. He silently counted down the time in his heart. The next moment, Lin Yi suddenly raised his arm. At the same time, the 10 seconds were up and the strangeness crashed down upon the world. The gears of fate began to turn. The node that changed the entire world arrived. Boom. Instantly, a torrent of complex and unfamiliar knowledge flooded everyone's minds. The once bright sky turned pitch dark in an instant. Fierce winds swept through, dark clouds pressed down. Amidst the layers of mist, a towering sky-high spire abruptly rose from the ground. Before Lin Yi, Su Wanning's form gradually changed. Blood mist erupted from her chest, enveloping her and surging toward her mind. A cold, mechanical voice suddenly resounded in the minds of everyone on Blue Star. "Welcome to the era of universal class change. Congratulations, you have entered China Youth, 1630 years old. Server newbie mission announced. Resist the evil spirit. The tower has randomly spawned evil spirits near all players. To avoid being devoured and slaughtered, make good use of your class. Eliminate the spirits and strive to survive. Remember, beware of red. The evil spirit is stained with bloody crimson. Remember, remember, remember. If the evil spirit remains, humanity will perish. For the first player to kill an evil spirit on the server, the Skyward Spirit Tower will grant rich rewards." The cold system voice hadn't finished when a jumbled electronic sound suddenly interrupted it. The two voices overlapped chaotically. "So, congratulations to Dark Hunter Lin Yi for achieving the first kill of the entire server. Reward title First Blood. Instantly, all players across every server were shocked. What the hell? Universal class change. Kill an evil spirit. While most people were still trying to understand what was happening, someone had already completed the first kill before the system broadcast had even finished. Was he prescient? Dark Hunter Lin. Countless people remembered this name. Ding. Congratulations to host Lin E. You have awakened the godlike operation cheat. An abrupt voice echoed in Lin E's mind. The host can obtain astonishment points by shocking all players with divine-level operations and exchange them for various powerful rewards. Newbie gift pack received Godspeed arrow knocking and drawing technique. Lin E was stunned. This didn't exist in his past life. Could it be a perk for him as a reborn person? Ding. Host's first kill behavior has successfully shocked the entire server. Gained 1,000 astonishment points. Currently available for exchange. Arc Arrow Ultimate Edition. Exchange. Exchange successful. Now Lin E had no time to study the cheat's functions. He clicked the exchange button and quickly pulled his focus back to the real world. At this moment, the fountain pen in his hand had already pierced into the pus bubble that had just grown on Su Wanning's chest. Su Wanning blinked her pupils wide with terror at what was happening before her. At this moment, Su Wanning's originally soft black hair had mutated into a blood-red hue. Her already fair face grew even paler, her pupils turned into a bewitching crimson, and her entire being radiated an eerie aura. Su Wanning also heard the system broadcast. Was she herself that bloodthirsty, evil spirit? Was she going to be killed? Or had Lin E already killed her? At that moment, Lin E immediately moved closer to Su Wanning, his palm gently stroking her violently trembling back, as he spoke in as calm a tone as he could manage, his voice low. Don't be afraid, you will not die. You are no longer an evil spirit. Leave everything that comes next to me. Su Wanning was completely dazed. She could not tell whether she was now dead or still alive. The sudden upheaval left the students in the class at a complete loss. Yet the system was so omnipotent that in an instant it compelled everyone to accept the setting of an era where the entire populace changed classes. The first to react was the student sitting in front of Su Wanning. He was a robust sports student named Lei Jingyi. He sprang to his feet, shouting with a hint of excitement, "What the hell? What is going on? I actually changed class into a bloodshed warrior. The contents of the novel have become reality. I must be the main character, right? Ha ha. Wait a second. The Lin E the system mentioned. Could it be that math lunatic Lin E from our class? That scrawny shriveled good for nothing could get the first kill, eh? No way. He would be so frightened at the sight of an evil spirit that he'd soil his pants. Wouldn't he, Lin E?" Lei Jingyi sneered as he twisted his head, intending to mock Lin E, only to catch sight of Su Wanning, her entire body drenched in scarlet. He was so terrified he practically flew backward. You're a ghost. The eerie evil spirit is here." The sudden clatter of desks and chairs crashing to the floor drew the attention of most of the class. When everyone saw Su Wanning's appearance, they were all shocked out of their wits. At this moment, Su Wanning was shrouded in a scarlet haze, the stench of blood spreading through the classroom like a plague. Most of the class instantly pulled away from her, their eyes filled with terror, dread, and bewilderment. They were nothing more than ordinary third-year high school students. How could they ever have experienced anything like that? Only Lin E, his expression indifferent, pulled the pen from Su Wanning's chest and tossed it aside. Then he slowly stepped in front of her, standing as a shield while his gaze swept across all his classmates. Su Wanning's mind was a complete muddle at this point, and she subconsciously clutched tightly at the hem of Lin E's clothes. Lei Jingyi, his whole body trembling, roared hoarsely at Lin E, "Lin, you worthless mutt. Behind you is a bizarre, evil spirit. Kill her now. Didn't you hear the system's broadcast? That eerie evil spirit is the boss. If she doesn't die, then we are the ones who will die." At this moment, all sorts of weapons had appeared in many students' hands. After the entire populace changed classes, reality became completely game-like. Everyone awakened a game interface system through which all players could view their own stats, quests, inventory, and so on. These weapons had automatically appeared in their inventory as novice equipment. Gripping them with trembling hands, they raised the weapons before themselves, aiming warily in the direction of Lin E and Su Wanning. Hearing Lei Jingyi's words, Lin E slowly shook his head and said in a deep voice, "The eerie evil spirit is already dead. The Su Wanning standing here now is an ordinary human. She will no longer pose any threat to you." Lei Jingyi froze, staring at Su Wanning again with a look of disbelief. Just as he hesitated, the system's voice echoed in his mind once more. "Kill it! Kill it! The eerie evil spirit must be killed." Hearing this voice, Lei Jingyi's gaze instantly hardened. No matter what, following the quest prompts in an online game was never wrong in his experience. Lei Jingyi spat on the floor, his face contorted with rage as he shouted, "Nonsense! That eerie evil spirit is clearly still alive and kicking. How can you lie through your teeth like that? Listen up, I've already changed class into a bloodshed warrior. Don't you dare provoke me. Today I must kill this evil ghost and rid the class of this menace." Lei's ingenious words immediately won the support of many classmates. Though they did not yet understand what was truly happening, none of them wished to remain in the same space as such a monstrous blood-drenched being. That's right. Exactly. How can you be so sure she won't hurt anyone again? The system just told us to kill the eerie evil spirit. Why are you stopping us? Could it be that you are an evil spirit too? Is that why you're speaking up for it? If you don't move aside, we'll kill you as well. You're usually just a bookworm who only knows math. Since when did you become so tough? Have you been beaten, stupid? Hurry up and kill that thing, it's so terrifying. I don't want to die. Lin Yi watched the ugly expressions of his classmates with a cold gaze. This scene was one Lin Yi had already witnessed once in his previous life. Although Su Wanning was recognized as the school beauty, she had been ostracized by the entire class because of certain unpleasant rumors. In his past life, Lin Yi had been ruthlessly abandoned by these very classmates, and even those who spoke up for him were cast out. It could be said that the reborn Lin Yi now felt no goodwill whatsoever toward these selfish and self-serving classmates. Behind Lin Yi, Su Wanning could feel the malice directed at her from everyone around. Scarlet tears slowly slipped from her eyes. She lowered her head to look at her fingernails, which were gradually turning crimson, and that horrifying color filled her with despair. Perhaps they were right. She was dangerous and might erupt at any moment to kill someone. By nature she was kind, and she could not bear the thought of others losing their lives because of her. Looking at Lin Yi, who was standing in front of her, Su Wanning felt that his broad shoulders had become the only harbor she could rely on. She suddenly whispered, "Step aside, Lin Yi. Don't let them hurt you as well. I truly have mutated." Lin Yi naturally refused to move. He only answered with 3 firmly spoken words. "Trust me." Lin Yi communicated with the system in his heart, then displayed the title he had just obtained above his head. The next moment something bizarre occurred. Just like in an online game, 4 characters appeared above Lin Yi's head. First blood. Lin Yi swept a cold, contemptuous gaze over the crowd facing him and sneered, "Open your damn eyes and take a good look. I am Lin Yi, the one who just achieved the first kill. This is my system title. Even the system says I completed the first kill of the eerie evil spirit. On what grounds do you still insist on killing Su Wanning?" All the classmates fell silent as they stared at the title above Lin Yi's head. Suddenly a girl named Mei Lian, who had always been deeply jealous of Su Wanning, spoke sharply in a mocking tone. "Who knows whether she will mutate again? Maybe these eerie evil spirits are like cats and have 9 lives. What if she suddenly mutates again later? What are we supposed to do then?" Mei Lian's words instantly won the approval of most of the class. In an instant, a roar of angry voices surged through the classroom. "Exactly. That's right. We still haven't figured out what this bizarre situation even is. How can you gamble with our lives like this? We have to kill this Su Wanning. Kill the eerie, evil spirit." Like the howl of a demon, the sharp and piercing shouts echoed throughout the classroom. Although there were differing voices, they were quickly drowned out by the fervent cries of others. "Everyone, don't act impulsively. What if they don't mutate and we end up killing the wrong person? Shall we verify again?" Lin Yi noticed it was the chubby boy in the corner who was once again speaking up for himself and Su Wanning. In his past life, it was this chubby boy who had pleaded for him only to suffer ostracism from the entire class. Lei Jingyi discovered that so many people in the class actually supported him, and he couldn't help but sneer as he tightened his grip on the long knife. "Lin Yi, you heard that right. The minority obeys the majority. If you don't step aside, I may have to take action. Don't blame me for disregarding classmate ties at that time." Classmate ties. Lin Yi chuckled coldly, the events of his past life flashing before his eyes. "You might as well not use the term classmate to insult us anymore." Lin Yi actually couldn't be bothered to talk to them. His scolding was merely a delay tactic. He quickly opened the talent point allocation interface in his mind. In the next moment, all his attribute points data appeared in the void. No one could see this data except Lin Yi. Lin Yi level 1 current free talent points: 2 constitution, 1 strength, 1 intelligence, 1 spirit, 1 agility, 1 luck. 0 in the era of universal job change, talent points are one of the keys to enhancing one's strength. Choosing the right point allocation route for one's profession is crucial. Lin Yi's chosen profession in this life is the same as in his past life, called Dark Hunter, a remote profession that uses bows and arrows for attacks. In his past life, Dark Hunters generally focused on increasing strength and agility. However, Lin Yi had everyone believed that the primary output method for Dark Hunters should be the attack power of their bows and arrows, yet Lin Yi arrived at a subversive conclusion through extensive calculations in his past life. In the later stages, Dark Hunters would achieve higher output efficiency by utilizing the passive skill Dark Mark. Dark Mark passive skill: the arrows of Dark Hunters have a certain probability of inflicting a dark corrosion effect, dealing 3 damage per second to enemy units for 10 seconds. A certain probability, 3 damage. When people in his past life saw these 2 phrases, they immediately dismissed this passive skill. Not only was the damage extremely low, but the success probability was also vague. Is it possible that 100 arrows could fail to trigger Dark Mark even once? Essentially, Dark Hunters wasted a passive skill. But Lin Yi from his past life had already calculated everything through countless experiments. What the game system referred to as a certain probability is actually 20. Most terrifyingly, Lin Yi discovered a chilling finding during his experiments. That is the most unique attribute point among talent points. Luck can actually influence the probability of Dark Mark. It can even be raised to 100. Luck is a very special attribute that does not increase with level, but can only be enhanced using extremely precious attribute points. In the early stages, a mere 1-point difference in attributes makes a significant impact. Many players who out of curiosity invested points in the luck attribute did not survive more than 3 days in the era of universal job change. However, Lin Yi was confident that he could compensate for the difference in attribute points with his strength. Lin Yi also knew that the damage of passive skills is influenced by one's maximum health. The higher the health, the higher the damage of Dark Mark. Once his health increased, Dark Mark could even deduct hundreds of health points per second, resulting in thousands over 10 seconds. Doesn't seem like much, does it? But Lin Yi, this player with a cheat, knew in advance about the Dark Hunter's level 30 skill, Infinite Dark Mark. This skill allows the Dark Mark buff to stack infinitely. Once the probability increases, the damage increases, and Dark Mark can begin to stack. The Dark Hunter profession becomes truly invincible. Thus, the truly correct point allocation for Dark Hunters should be to invest in Constitution and Luck. This conclusion is something Lin Yi knows as the only person in the entire server. This information gap will allow Lin Yi's Dark Hunter to showcase its brilliance earlier. As Lin Yi contemplated, he had already communicated with the system interface and completed his allocation. Are you sure you want to allocate your free talent points to Luck and Constitution? Confirmation successful. In the era of universal job change, humans who have job changed do not take direct damage when attacked, but instead lose health like in an online game. Once the health points are depleted, the player will be erased, meaning complete death. Everyone starts with an initial health. Since Lin Yi enhanced his Constitution attribute points, his initial health rose to an impressive 120 points. Don't forget, the title above Lin Yi's head is not just for show. As a first kill reward, its effect is terrifying. First blood, the bearer receives a 10 increase in all attributes. Thus, with the title's boost, Lin Yi's current health has soared to 132 points. That's a full 32 points more than others. In the early stages, most people's attack power hovers around 10 points, so this 32 points of health allows Lin Yi to withstand at least 3 additional attacks. That's already a significant advantage. Lin Yi's lips curled into a smile as he summoned his beginner weapon from his backpack. An ordinary longbow, so common it couldn't be more so. Beginner's longbow, level ordinary, usable level 1, attack power 5, bonus infinite quiver. Lin Yi took an arrow from the quiver at his waist and slowly drew back the longbow in his hand. Seeing Lin Yi actually pull out a longbow, the Lei Jingyi opposite him instantly wore a wild, proud smile. Oh, an archer. Well, that's unfortunate for you. As a fragile range profession, what you fear most is someone like me, a close combat warrior. Besides, in such a small area in our class, let's see how you dodge my big knife. My big knife has been itching for action, haha. Lei Jingyi roared with laughter as he charged toward Lin Yi. Lin Yi remained calm, standing still with a serene expression, chuckling softly as he muttered, "Do I even need to dodge to kill you?" To the astonishment of the entire class, Lei Jingyi's speed at this moment had completely surpassed that of an ordinary high school student. Lin Yi, however, was not surprised. He knew there were 2 reasons. The first was that after the class change, everyone's physical constitution had improved to a certain extent. The second was due to the Bloodthirsty Warrior's initial passive skill. Charge. When the Bloodthirsty Warrior charges toward an enemy, his speed increases by 10. This passive can be said to be the nightmare of all ranged classes. Melee classes naturally have higher initial agility than ranged classes. In the early stage, everyone's attack power is very weak. A Dark Hunter cannot kill a Bloodthirsty Warrior with just a few arrows. Even if the Bloodthirsty Warrior endures a rain of arrows from the Dark Hunter, he can still successfully close in. Once closed, the Dark Hunter's actions of knocking and drawing the bow will be endlessly interrupted. This is also one of the reasons why the Dark Hunter is called the weakest class in the early stage. Lei Jingyi looked at Lin Yi standing still as a statue, and a ferocious smile appeared on his face. Trash. Die. Watch me rid the people of the scourge. Su Wanning behind Lin Yi watched in terror as Lei Jingyi charged ferociously toward Lin Yi. The long blade in Lei Jingyi's hand glinted with a chill that sent shivers down one's spine. She grew even more panicked. She hadn't expected these people to actually go for the kill. Lin Yi, run. Don't worry about me. Su Wanning tried to push Lin Yi away to make him dodge the horrifying long blade, but she couldn't budge him at all. At this moment, Lin Yi stood like a sturdy pine, his eyes deep and focused on the rapidly approaching Lei Jingyi, aiming at his right leg. After the arrival of the anomaly, even if a Dark Hunter's arrow strikes your leg, or a Bloodthirsty Warrior's long blade slashes toward your head, you will only lose HP, without any actual organic damage. However, the momentum remains. Whoosh! Lin Yi's speed in knocking and drawing the bow was so fast that others could barely see it. Lin Yi himself exclaimed in amazement. Was this the lightning-fast arrow knocking and drawing technique granted by the cheat? Truly awesome. Lin Yi pulled the longbow taut in one swift motion. The bow like a crescent moon brimmed with explosive power. Swoosh! The arrow shot forth. The arrow having left the string shot precisely toward Lei Xingjia's right leg. First arrow. Lin Yi silently counted in his mind. The arrow's powerful momentum directly interrupted Lei Xingjia's charge toward him. Oh, it hurts. Huh, it doesn't hurt. Lei Xingji looked down at his right leg. The arrow had vanished. Apart from a faint pain, he felt no other sensation of being struck. Huh, my leg is perfectly fine. Huh. Lin Yi, you worthless dog, your strength is too weak. With someone like you still want to be my enemy. Dream on. Lei Xingji did not notice the floating words indicating HP deduction above his head, nor did he hear the prompts that sounded in his ear. Arrogance had filled his mind. The classmates behind Lei Xingji also exclaimed at this scene. Wow. Lei Xingji is so fierce. With a mortal body to withstand arrows. Awesome. Lei Xingji, kill these two evil spirits quickly so we can all be safe. The sounds of his classmates' cheers rang continuously in Lei Xingjia's ears. This feeling of being admired was truly wonderful. Lin Yi saw the excitement in Lei Xingjia's pupils, let out a cold sneer, and instantly knocked, and drew the bow again, unleashing another explosive shot. One arrow was immediately followed by another without pause. Lei Xingji let the arrows strike his body wearing a nonchalant expression and charged toward Lin Yi with a maniacal laugh. Too weak. Still too weak. Did you skip your meal? Why does your bow have no power at all? What Lei Xingji didn't know was that his own HP had been wildly deducted. Warning. You have lost 11 HP. Even though the mechanical announcement kept ringing in Lei Xingjia's, but due to the extreme speed of Lin Yi's arrows, the system announcements in Lei Xingjia's ears had now overlapped, making them completely unintelligible. At this moment, Lei Xingji was solely focused on hacking off Lin Yi's head with one blow. In the blink of an eye, Lei Xingji had already closed in on Lin Yi and raised his long blade high. You anomaly spirit. Die for me. Today I will be the hero of the whole class. There was a gleam in Lei Xingjia's eyes as if he was already envisioning the scene of himself surrounded by grateful classmates after saving them. He was indeed the protagonist. Lin Yi continued to count the arrows in his mind while calculating the remaining HP of Lei Xingji. Arrow after arrow. 8th arrow. Now Lei Xingjia's HP was less than 20 points. 2 more arrows were needed. But at this moment Lei Xingjia's long blade was about to descend and Lin Yi seemed to have no time left. All the classmates stared at this scene with tension. Their minds were still stuck in the era before the universal class change. They believed that if this blade struck Lin Yi's head, he would definitely not survive. Some timid girls even covered their eyes with their hands, afraid to witness the ensuing bloody scene. No. A chubby boy in the corner had just risen to shout, only to be struck down by a sharp slap from the tall boy beside him. Shut up. No one else spoke up for Lin Yi. Not a single voice intervened to stop Lei Xingji. To survive, they absurdly chose to sacrifice him. Su Wanning, standing behind Lin Yi, strained desperately to pull him away, but he would not budge. What she did not know was that the grotesque, evil spirit, its abscess ruptured, had no class transcendence bonus. Its strength dwarfed that of ordinary people. Moreover, her health was fixed at 10. Even a single strike would instantly kill her. Lin Yi knew this all too well. Thus he would not yield, even an inch. Gazing at the descending long blade, Lin Yi felt no fear. Calm and composed, he drew another arrow. Seeing this, Su Wanning finally surrendered entirely. Fine, perhaps this is simply my fate. She did not flee. Instead, she gently pressed her face against Lin Yi's back and softly encircled his waist with her arms. At least for one fleeting second before death, she could savor the warmth of an embrace. In the next instant, clang! A crisp metallic ring echoed through the classroom. The searing agony Su Wanning had imagined never came. Puzzled, she opened her eyes and lifted her beautiful gaze upward. To her astonishment, Lei Xingji, who moments before had roared like a ravenous beast, could no longer even hold his long blade. Stunned, Su Wanning covered her crimson lips with trembling fingers and whispered, "What just happened?" The classroom's earlier cheers died midair. Everyone stood frozen. Su Wanning had seen nothing, while others had glimpsed movement, but none understood it. What's going on? That blade was certain to cleave Lin Yi's skull. How did it suddenly veer off? Neither did I. I couldn't make out what occurred. Perhaps Lei Xingji simply lost his grip. How could Lei Xingji commit such a blunder? None of the classmates truly grasped what had transpired. Many assumed it was merely Lei Xingji's error. They did not know Lin Yi had just unleashed the curved arrow purchased earlier from his cheat interface. In the blink of an eye, Lin Yi's arrow first struck the hilt of Lei Xingji's blade, delivering a violent shockwave that rattled his wrist. After knocking the blade from his grasp, the arrow did not fall, but instead traced a ghostly, flawless arc through the air, hurtling once more toward Lei Xingji's nape. One arrow, 2 strikes upon Lei Jingyi. Such was the terrifying power of the curved arrow. Dazed Lei Jingyi stared blankly at his empty hand, utterly bewildered. How did my blade slip? Lin Yi's gaze remained cold and detached. He uttered no explanation, only drew his bow again, claiming Lei Jingyi's final sliver of life. Lei Jingyi, still unaware of his fate, bent instinctively to retrieve his blade, yet his fingers passed straight through it. What? My body. Lei Jingyi froze in utter confusion. How had his form turned spectral? And why was every ounce of strength draining from him, even his vital essence? With wide-eyed terror, he locked eyes with Lin Yi and shrieked, "What have you done?" Lin Yi gazed at him, calm and unflinching. Since the arrival of the anomalies, reality and the game world have blurred. Their health bars are your lives. Absence of pain does not mean absence of harm. Your health has been fully depleted, so your fate can only— Terror twisted Lei Jingyi's face as he reached desperately for Lin Yi, yet could not touch him. His pupils burned crimson as he screamed, "Why didn't you tell me?" Why? Lin Yi remained impassive. Would you have believed me if I had? Did you believe me when I said Su Wanning posed no threat, that I'd already slain the grotesque, evil spirit? Lei Jingyi whirled toward the classmates who cheered him on, clutching at them for salvation. Save me. Someone, anyone, save me. But not a hand was raised. Lin Yi watched silently and delivered the doomed instigator his final words. Farewell. In your next life, don't be a fool. Don't forget your own name after 3 hollow compliments. To protect Su Wanning amid such obstinate peers, Lin Yi had no choice but to make an example. With his impulsive nature, Lei Jingyi likely wouldn't have survived long in this anomalous world, even without Lin Yi's intervention. As Lin Yi's voice faded, Lei Jingyi's face, twisted with rage and regret, dissolved into dust. That sight struck every soul like a thunderclap. A living person, just gone. Not even a corpse remained. Some timid girls fainted outright. Even the boldest boys trembled violently, their eyes vacant, unable to process the horror before them. Mei Lian, the same girl who'd sneered moments earlier, now pointed a shaking finger at Lin Yi, her face pale with dread. You actually killed someone? Lin Yi found the question too foolish even to answer. The era had changed. His gaze, sharp as a falcon's, cold as abyssal ice, swept over Mei Lian. His voice, chilling and hollow, echoed from the deepest hells. Didn't you just see it? Lift that filthy finger toward me again, and you'll be next. Mei Lian snatched her hand back, instantly vanishing into the crowd. Yet once hidden from Lin Yi's sight, her eyes flickered with venomous hatred. To them now, Lin Yi was indistinguishable from a bloodthirsty demon. Every classmate kept their distance, eyes wary, faces fearful. Lin Yi offered no reaction. In this age of universal class transcendence, hollow camaraderie held no value for him. That he spared them all was already mercy. Lin Yi believed though slaughter was permitted in this new age, humanity demanded boundaries. He would not be a saint, but neither would he become a remorseless executioner. Those who provoked him would find no leniency. The innocent he deemed unworthy of his wrath. This was 5 minutes earlier. Unbeknownst to all, atop the abruptly appearing heavenly pagoda, a group of survivors were staring at the wall of live feeds, engaged in discussion. They hailed from other parallel worlds, having likewise endured the era of universal profession transition that Lin Yi was now experiencing. Through brutal conflict, they had ultimately ascended the pagoda and become survivors. A blonde, blue-eyed woman from the Beacon country watched the monitors with keen interest as she popped a grape into her mouth and asked, "So which server do you think will claim the first kill in Parallel World No. 44? A man from the Bear Country stated flatly, "Surely it will be our Bear Country youth server. A single aberrant wraith is hardly a challenge for us, is it?" A man from the Cherry Blossom Country sneered, interjecting, "Ridiculous. How could you Bear Country brutes bereft of intellect possibly discover the fatal weakness of an aberrant wraith? If you ask me, it must be our great Cherry Blossom Empire." At that moment, a mechanical electronic voice suddenly echoed through the heavenly pagoda. "Congratulations. The Huaxia Youth Group server has achieved the first kill. Time used 0.87 seconds. Record broken. Huaxia Zone receives 100 points as reward. Less than 1 second. The first kill took less than 1 second. How is that possible?" In an instant, everyone's gaze converged on the monitor of the Huaxia Youth Group server. The Beacon Country woman's eyes flew wide, utterly unable to believe her ears. The announcement from the heavenly pagoda felt like a slap across her face. What? Impossible. The heavenly pagoda must have made a mistake. She lunged toward the monitor, desperate to double-check. Yet when she saw Lin Yi pulling a fountain pen from the pus-filled boil on Su Wanning's chest on the screen, the Beacon Country woman was instantly overwhelmed by dizziness. It's Huaxia. Could they be producing another figure like Long Yanqiu? The Bear Country man pressed his hands to his forehead, disbelief etched across his face. The man who had been smugly boasting about his great Cherry Blossom Empire just moments before now scanned through the records of other parallel worlds, his face ashen. Before today, the record for the first kill had been 3 minutes. Everyone believed that achievement was the absolute limit. And now, the truth lay before them all. Huaxiao had created an almost impossible number 0. 87 seconds. It was a devastating blow, a dimensional suppression. Wait. Ha ha ha, look. Huaxiao is even having internal strife. The defeated Beacon Country woman suddenly pointed at the monitor and shrieked. She was referring to the standoff between Lin Yi and Lei Jingyi. The Beacon Country woman declared arrogantly, so what if he killed quickly? Trapped by a group, he's as good as dead. Unfortunately, before she could savor her smugness for even a few minutes, Lei Jingyi perished before her eyes. The Beacon Country woman, who had been brimming with bravado, instantly turned ashen. What had she just witnessed? Her lips parted slightly, incredulity written all over her face. This is impossible. She could not fathom how a novice dark hunter cornered by a bloodthirsty warrior could still achieve a reverse kill. Every word she had used to mock Huaxiao now struck back like a slap across her own face. The Bear Country and Cherry Blossom Country men cast looks of contempt at her. Arrogant. Let her be arrogant. For ages the Bear Country, the Cherry Blossom Country, and indeed all nations had held a certain reverence for Huaxiao the Dragon Kingdom with millennia of history. But this Beacon Country woman had clearly overstepped. Bang! Inside the Huaxiao floor, Long Yanqiu, captain of the Huaxiao survivor squad, slammed his hand on the table and shot to his feet. At that moment, Long Yanqiu's head was practically thrust into the live monitor. The screen before him showed Lin Yi's extraordinary arrow. Long Yanqiu had seen it clearly, yet for the first time, he doubted his own eyes. He swallowed hard, his voice hoarse as he murmured, "What Lin Yi just used? Could it be a curved arrow?" No one could answer him. All the Huaxiao survivors present fell into silence. They too had seen it. 1 arrow, 2 kills. A single arrow completing 2 attacks. With a single arrow, Lin Yi had not only interrupted Lei Jingyi's assault, but also shaved off another 11 HP from him. It was utterly magnificent. A textbook curved arrow. Some marveled, but others dismissed it. Indeed, it's a curved arrow, but for experts at our level, a curved arrow is hardly a technique worthy of praise. Long Yanqiu, however, shook his head in agitation. You said it yourself, for experts at our level. How many battles have we all been through? And what about him? Lin Yi is a dark hunter who awakened only 3 minutes ago. 3 minutes. Long Yanqiu held up 3 fingers and shook his hand in disbelief. He had fired no more than 8 arrows before that. And yet he mastered the curved arrow. Can you do that? Can I? Can anyone present a supreme genius? Only those 4 words echoed in Long Yanqiu's mind. The other survivors, hearing his words, nodded unconsciously. Long Yanqiu turned to the team member beside him, who was still in a daze, and shouted, "What are you gawking at? I want all the information on Lin Yi. From his birth onward, everything. The more detailed the better. Right now. This time Huaxiao might produce a formidable figure, perhaps enough to elevate our ranking." Soon Lin Yi's files were delivered to Long Yanqiu. He frowned deeply as he leafed through the documents. The Heavenly Pagoda was omniscient, and as long as one paid transaction points, anyone's information could be obtained with ease. But Long Yanqiu was perplexed. Not that he couldn't read the words. Rather, from these files, Lin Yi seemed utterly ordinary in most aspects. Athletic ability, agility, archery talent. None of these had shown any remarkable points in the 18 years of his life as recorded. If there was any peculiarity, it was his talent in mathematics. The college entrance math exam could no longer challenge him. He was now studying advanced university calculus. But, in the era of universal profession transition, could mathematics help him clear dungeons? When he used that curved arrow, I thought he must have practiced specially. But he hadn't. He doesn't even have any experience with a bow, unless you count that toy he played with at an amusement park when he was 7. Tell me, how could such an ordinary person possess such unflappable decision-making under pressure? And how could he fire such a beautiful curved arrow with such an expression of calm detachment? Could it be that he calculated it using math? Long Yanqiu pressed his temples, which were starting to throb. Just as his headache worsened, Yuan, the vice-captain of the Huaxia survivor squad, beside him, pulled up Lin Yi's current stats through the system and suddenly noticed an anomaly in his talent point allocation. She hurriedly pointed it out to Long Yanqiu. "Brother Long, look at Lin Yi's attribute allocation." Long Yanqiu immediately glanced at the allocation data on the document, his eyes bulging and his mind going blank. The others quickly crowded around. When they saw the words on the document, they all froze. Constitution. Why Constitution? And why the hell luck? Even Long Yanqiu, an experienced survivor captain, was baffled. In previous generations, did any players choose to invest in luck? Long Yanqiu asked in astonishment. Yuan quickly provided an answer. There were some, but most didn't survive more than 5 dungeons because of the huge attribute disparity in the early stages. So we don't have much data on the luck attribute. Based on my speculation, luck probably affects skill activation, probability, loot from chests, and the like. Unfortunately, survival difficulty is too high in the early game, so the sample size is too small. Long Yanqiu couldn't help but frown. Survival difficulty high. He still had high hopes for Lin Yi at present. Was Lin Yi doomed to fall short because of his attribute disparity? This guy, what a mess. Does he really think this is a game? This is a life or death. Purgatory. Meanwhile, on other floors of the Heavenly Pagoda, though only a limited number of floors were open in the Heavenly Pagoda, each country essentially had its own floor equipped with all kinds of facilities. On days when they weren't going into dungeons, the survivors lived quite comfortably. In addition to the national floors, there was also a public floor shared by all nations. Ever since Lin Yi appeared, all survivors scattered across the public floor had returned to their respective floors to track and study Lin Yi. Although no cross-national competitive dungeons had yet emerged within the Heavenly Pagoda, who could say for sure what the future held? Thus preparations had to be made in advance. And this Lin Yi, within the span of just 3 minutes after the dawn of the Universal Profession Transition era, had stolen the spotlight twice in a row, naturally drawing the attention of every nation. In the Pickle Kingdom, is this Lin Yi really not one of our Pickle Kingdom people? Kim Song-wook munched on kimchi, his expression hopeful. Inside the Cherry Blossom Kingdom floor below the Cherry Blossom Kingdom, survivor Captain Yumi, Sun Kutsucha, stared at the image on the monitor and said coldly, "A curved arrow. Very well, Lin Yi is it? He'll remember you. Listen up everyone. Lock one live feed onto this Lin Yi. I want to know every move he makes from now on. This man could very well be the greatest enemy of my Cherry Blossom Kingdom in the future. Even more troublesome than that Andrew Fu." Lin Yi was unaware that at this moment many people were observing him from the Tontian Spirit Tower. In his past life, he was killed before he ever reached that level. At this moment, Lin Yi was listening to the system's broadcast. Notice for the era of Universal Job Change 1. Your bodies have been completely gamified health attack power. All your attributes will be presented in data form. 2. Always pay attention to your health, it represents your life. 3. All players can check tasks, attribute panels, weapon data, etc. In the system interface, infinite possibilities await your exploration. 4. All items can be stored in the backpack. Items of the same type occupy the same slot, with a maximum of 9,999 items per slot. The backpack currently has 20 slots, which can be expanded later using trading points. 5. Attention. Death means permanent death, with no resurrection. Treasure your life. 6. You are trapped in a certain area and cannot leave at will. 7. Tomorrow morning at 8 a.m., everyone will enter the first universal disaster instance. Please prepare accordingly. Having experienced the inexplicable death of Lei Jingyi at Lin Yi's hands, everyone began to carefully examine the system interface's introduction. They were afraid of missing any information related to their lives. They did not want to die inexplicably like Lei Jingyi. Lin Yi was well aware of these things, so he took this opportunity to briefly check the only new thing in his body, an external tool. His astonishment value had been completely spent after exchanging for the curved arrow. However, Lin Yi was startled to discover that he still had 150 points of astonishment value. What was going on? Lin Yi quickly checked the details of the astonishment value, only to find a group of unfamiliar people expressing astonishment at his actions. Most of these people had a strange prefix, such as Huaxia Survivor Sakura Country, Survivor Lighthouse Country, Survivor, etc. But who were these people? Why were they astonished by him? Lin Yi scrolled to the bottom of the details and discovered the names of Su Wanning and other classmates. However, their contributions were minimal, only 1 point of astonishment value. Among them, a person named Huaxia Survivor Squad leader Long Yanqiu surprisingly contributed 10 points of astonishment value at once. Lin Yi was bewildered. Could it be that there were things even he as a reborn person did not know? Was it because of the awakening of the external tool that he could glimpse such matters? Soon Lin Yi abandoned the thought, as this was not the time for such musings. He should focus on what else he could gain from this extraordinary external tool. The external tool was quite simple. Apart from the interface showing the amount of astonishment value, there was only an exchange shop left. Lin Yi opened the exchange shop and was instantly stunned. There were too many options. Moreover, many were tasks he did not recognize and skills he could not understand. For example, Andrew's cleaving skill required 130 astonishment value. Another example, Jean Chengwo's blue control skill required 200 astonishment value. These were the cheaper options. There were also expensive ones. For instance, Andrew's famous skill, blood-soaked guillotine, required 50000 astonishment value. It was simply a dazzling array. However, these skills were clearly not suitable for Lin Yi at the moment. Lin Yi could not exchange for much, but finally he found something that piqued his interest. Invincible dodging technique. Success rate up to 99. If it doesn't work, you can cut me. This name made Lin Yi's mouth twitch. However, it had to be said that dodging techniques were indeed in high demand. Moreover, this dodging technique only required 150 astonishment value. Without any hesitation, Lin Yi immediately chose to exchange. Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully exchanging Invincible Dodging Technique Level 1. Lin Yi. What was going on? Why was the product not as expected? Lin Yi quickly checked and was immediately infuriated. Invincible Dodging Technique, first level, 150 astonishment value. PvE player versus environment can dodge attacks from level 110 minor monsters with an 80 success rate. PvP player versus player can dodge simple attacks from 2 or fewer opponents with an 80 success rate. Unlock the next level 300 astonishment value. Isn't this a scam? 150 points of astonishment value turned out to be a stripped-down version. This is too much. Unfortunately, this external tool obviously had no customer service channel for rights protection. Lin Yi could only choose to accept this silent loss. After calming down, Lin Yi thought carefully and realized that this first level was actually sufficient for him at the moment. He should consider his next step. He had heard the rules just announced by the system, and among the basic rules, the sixth rule made Lin Yi's mind stir. 6. You are trapped in a certain area and cannot leave at will. What exactly is the scope of this certain area? Is it the classroom, the school, or the city? Lin Yi quickly opened the map, and the current map was vastly different from the map of his past life. Aside from the campus, all other areas were dimmed. Lin Yi instantly understood. The certain area referred to by the system must be the school. This was something only Lin Yi could think of. Even if others saw the map, it would be difficult for them to grasp its meaning since they had never seen a normal version of the map. In that case, Lin Yi suddenly had a crazy plan. He returned from his contemplation, and beside him Su Wanning was curiously examining him. His face instantly turned red. Why are you looking at me? Seeing Lin Yi like this, Su Wanning immediately burst into laughter. Unexpectedly, the cold and ruthless Lin Yi had such a cute and shy side. Before Su Wanning could respond, Lin Yi had already pulled her over, ignoring the fearful gazes of Mei Lian and the other classmates, and walked straight towards the window. Lin Yi always kept Su Wanning protected on the inner side of his body, ensuring that even if there were other dark hunters or flashy mages in the class, they could not harm Su Wanning. Through the window, Lin Yi vaguely saw that the outside of the teaching building was crawling with strange and gigantic. These ants seemed to be covered in spikes and hard armor, each one 100 times the size of a normal ant. If one stood up, it would probably be taller than a person. Su Wanning, who was being pulled by Lin Yi, naturally saw this scene and was immediately horrified. Oh, what is that thing? The moment he saw the ants, Lin Yi's eyes lit up. Was his luck really this good? The monsters respawning near the teaching building were actually puncture soldier ants. Puncture soldier ant, level 5 health, 50 attack power, 30 skill charge, and bite, dealing 150 of attack damage each time. This was an extremely weak early stage monster, very suitable for them to grind experience now. Lin Yi quickly surveyed the classroom. Some were studying the data on the system interface, some were crying loudly, and some were staring blankly with lifeless eyes. Even more surprisingly, at this moment, someone actually confessed to the girl they had a crush on. The two thought that they might not survive until tomorrow and unexpectedly began to embrace and enjoy their last moments together. In his previous life, Lin Yi spent this night crying over Su Wanning's corpse. But in this life, armed with prior experience, he would certainly not waste time. Moreover, he had a compelling reason to grow stronger. Now Su Wanning had no occupation. She was merely a walking shell, a half-dead and eerie malignant. Though Su Wanning was alive, she would perish instantly upon being struck by an attack. To any observer, it would seem she could not survive for more than a few days. However, as a reborn soul, Lin Yi had seen a special item on the system forum in his past life, the job change lock. This lock allowed players to undergo a second job change, transitioning from a primary class to a far more powerful advanced class. More importantly, this job change lock could enable a malignant spirit to turn into a hidden class, the necromancer, a formidable profession capable of summoning the undead and devouring souls. Yet acquiring the job change lock was extremely difficult. According to the only method Lin Yi knew, one had to obtain the server-wide first place evaluation in the first 3 dungeons. Each time a player achieved server-wide first place in a dungeon, they would receive rewards, among which was a fragment of the job change lock. Collecting 3 fragments would grant the complete job change lock. Note, not just any 3 times, but the first 3. Because starting from the 4th, the rewards would change. Though those were also extremely precious items to Lin Yi, they were nothing but scrap metal. Therefore, to secure first place in the first 3 dungeons, he had to enhance his strength. Even the calm before the storm, the time most easily overlooked, could not be wasted. But if Lin Yi acted alone, he would have to both slay monsters and protect Su Wanning, a task beyond one person's capacity. Thus, he needed to find a teammate. He already had a candidate in mind, the chubby boy who had spoken up for him. The boy's name was Tang Junren, who was normally an invisible nobody in the class. In fact, a group of boys led by Lei Jingyi had nicknamed him Ugly Tang. The reason was his less than striking appearance contrasted sharply with his name. But Lin Yi knew well that in the era of universal job-changing, appearance was the most worthless asset. At that moment, Tang Junren was sitting dazedly in a corner, studying the details of his newly obtained class. Lin Yi walked through the crowd, still keeping Su Wanning close beside him, heading toward Tang Junren. All the students who noticed Lin Yi's movement quickly shrank away, fearing that this murderous maniac might suddenly erupt and slaughter them all. Lin Yi wanted exactly that effect. He needed everyone to fear him and stay away so he could better protect. Su Wanning merely followed Lin Yi in a daze, still not understanding what had happened or what cataclysmic changes had befallen the world. Tang Junren sensed Lin Yi approaching and looked up in surprise. Without any preamble, Lin Yi extended his hand toward Tang Junren, flashed a grin, and said, "I want to invite you to join my team." Hearing Lin Yi's words, Tang Junren was taken aback. His chubby face showed bewilderment as he pointed shakily at himself and confirmed, "Me. Are you sure? I'm fat, not very agile. Won't I hold you back?" Lin Yi shook his head decisively. "You will become someone formidable. If we work together, we'll have a better chance of surviving." This was not Lin Yi feeding Tang Junren empty promises, but stating a fact. In Lin Yi's previous life, Tang Junren later became the strongest exile knight in the entire Chinese youth server. He was the sturdiest shield in the entire server. With Tang Junren at the front, everyone behind him could safely deal damage, making him a teammate everyone vied for. Yet he always remained alone, never having a fixed team. Lin Yi knew it was because in his weaker days he had suffered too much deception and exclusion, leaving a shadow of fear in his heart. Now Lin Yi intended to prevent that. At the moment when Tang Junren had the least confidence in himself, Lin Yi would help him build that confidence and accelerate his rise to become the supreme exile knight of his previous life. Moreover, with Tang Junren by his side, Su Wanning's safety would be better ensured. Hearing Lin Yi's words, Tang Junren's face filled with disbelief. No one had ever said such things to him. He had been a self-deprecating person his whole life. Overhearing Lin Yi and Tang Junren's conversation, the classmates who had been watching couldn't help but snicker. Has Lin Yi gone crazy after his mutation? He actually wants to team up with such deadweight. Seems like the stronger the mutation, the more it messes with your head. I think he just wants to lure Tang Junren away and kill him. Because Tang is fatter, there's more meat, ha. The contemptuous voices kept coming, and those insulting words made Tang Junren doubt himself again. He hung his head dejectedly. Lin Yi turned back with a fierce glare, and those gossiping students immediately shut their mouths. If I hear anyone whisper again, I won't hesitate to send you to meet Lei Jingyi. Lin Yi's icy voice echoed through the classroom. Although those students secretly despised Lin Yi, the power he had demonstrated earlier indeed cowed them. Thus no one dared to contradict Lin Yi's words. The classroom fell silent once more. Lin Yi nodded with satisfaction, turned his head, and looked at Tang Junren again. The latter's hand was still extended in the air. He knew very well that for someone like Tang Junren, who had long been overlooked and was emotionally sensitive, a hearty dose of motivational chicken soup could work wonders. Lin Yi poured out all the motivational phrases he could recall in one go. Do you want to cower in a dark, damp corner for the rest of your life? What this place offers you is not a sense of security, but retreat, avoidance, cowardice. But open your eyes and look at this world. They are not worth your fear. The world is already pouring with rain, so you must hide your cowardice even more and keep going strong. I hope that disdain and attacks like torrential rain will never harm you. I want to be the person you can trust with your back, and you will be my most trusted companion in this bizarre world of class change. Let's survive together. Indeed, Lin Yi's motivational attack worked, and Tang Junren was completely Lin Yi's words were deeply engraved in Tang Junren's heart. Tang Junren had never imagined that someone would extend a hand to him so firmly, a palm, not a fist. He had never imagined that someone would want to be his companion. A companion? Okay. Finally, Tang Junren extended his chubby hand and firmly grasped Lin Yi's, revealing a shy, foolish smile. That handshake, which would change the entire era of nationwide class transfer in the future, happened silently in this classroom. Inside the Tongtian Tower, long Yankee's brows were tightly furrowed, never relaxing. Before him lay Tang Junren's profile. A teammate beside him with concern reminded Long Yangxiu while handing him a cup of coffee. Don't keep looking, Captain Long. You've read this profile over and over 3 times, and I don't understand what's so fascinating about it. This Tang Junren has no highlights, no shred of talent, and even has obvious character flaws, weakness, and susceptibility to others' influence. He even believes in such insipid chicken soup. And he's far too overweight. I doubt he can even move easily. Someone like that probably won't survive 3 dungeons. Long Yangxiu waved his hand in displeasure, refusing the coffee his teammate offered, and snorted, Do you think I don't know all this? But it's precisely because of these things that I'm even more puzzled. Why would Lin Yi choose this little fatty as his team? In the era of nationwide class transfer, companions are the most important thing. The key to surviving thrilling, perilous dungeons is having a good companion. But Lin Yi's choice was so rash. Long Yangxiu truly did not want the newly kindled flame of hope to be extinguished again. The Dengta state had the extraordinary heaven-sent bloodbath warrior Andala Fu. The Paokai state had the awe-inspiring, masterful, sparkling mage Jin Xinhua. The Yinghua state had the elusive, death-dealing upper-rank shadow assassin Meichuan Kecha. The Huixiong state had the glory priest Yifuli Ansiji, with astonishing healing power and sharp insight. And what about Huaxia? People said Huaxia had Long Yanxiu the wild blade that slashed the snow-winged eagle, but Long Yanxiu himself knew clearly. Compared to Andalou Fu, he was still a realm behind. No matter how desperately Long Yanxiu tried, he could never catch up to Andalou Fu's talent. This was an innate gap, and Long Yanxiu could do nothing about it. Therefore, he understood that Huaxiao urgently needed a true genius now. He had thought Lin Yi would be that person, but now he began to waver. Lin Yi's ability to intimidate the entire class with just one sentence was witnessed by a young man in the corner. However, what shone in the young man's eyes was not fear or envy, but jealousy and madness. This young man was named Pu Huai, and he had been Lin Yi's classmate since middle school. At this moment, Pu Huai had figured out the friend system in the interface, and was frantically adding classmates as friends, constantly sending messages, as if plotting something. Meanwhile, his gaze never left Lin Yi. His eyes were like those of a beast on the hunt, wild, bloody, and filled with insane, murderous intent. Pu Huai believed that if he killed Lin Yi now, he would surely gain the support of the whole class. In this bizarre situation, only with the support of the masses could one survive better. Pu Huai prided himself on being a clever man, and he was very satisfied with his plan. Moreover, his class would perfectly complement his scheme. This is destiny. Of course, Lin Yi didn't know what Pu Huai was thinking. He was also adding friends. He had taught Su Wanning and Tang Junren how to operate the friend system, and the three successfully added each other. Lin Yi and our team private chats cannot be overheard, so I will choose to say important things in the team channel. Tang Junren Roger. Su Wanning okay. Seeing that the two could smoothly receive and send private messages, Lin Yi nodded with satisfaction and continued in the team chat. Lin Yi, now I will briefly introduce the era of nationwide class transfer. There are 6 classes. Lin Yi, they are Dark Hunter, Banished Knight, Bloodbath Warrior, Glory Priest, Shadow Assassin, and Sparkling Mage. Each class has its own characteristics, such as Tang Junren's class Banished Knight. Tang Junren immediately sat up straight upon hearing this, listening attentively. To be honest, he hadn't fully understood his own class just now. Lin Yi, the Banished Knight's greatest function is protection. It is a tank class. Its passive skill is also very powerful. When a Banished Knight raises his shield, he gains damage reduction based on the number of teammates behind him, up to 20. Tang Junren, brother, he isn't 20 a bit low? Lin Yi slowly shook his head. Lin Yi, not at all. Don't underestimate that 20. In the later stages, almost no class can quickly eliminate a Banished Knight with his shield raised. Although the Banished Knight leans toward a protective type, this class is not entirely devoid of offensive ability. However, it is indeed the weakest among melee classes. Tang Junren, then which class has the strongest offensive ability? Lin Yi answered without any hesitation. Lin Yi, Shadow Assassin. Lin Yi, among the 3 melee classes, the Shadow Assassin has the strongest close combat attack, followed by the Bloodbath Warrior, and lastly the Banished Knight. However, the order of defensive capabilities is reversed. Lin Yi, among the 3 ranged classes, the Sparkling Mage has the strongest attack and powerful area effect abilities, followed by the Dark Hunter, and finally the Glory Priest, which has the strongest support capabilities. Tang Junren and Su Wanning slowly nodded, gradually absorbing knowledge they had never been exposed to before. In their eyes, Lin Yi was like an omniscient encyclopedia, frantically clearing the unknown obstacles ahead. Lin Yi also guided Tang Junren in allocating his talent points. Based on Tang Junren's performance in his past life, Lin Yi chose an all-constitution build for him. Thus, Tang Junren's HP instantly soared to 140 points. That was 8 points more than Lin Yi. Lin Yi's thought was that since Tang Junren was not good at offense, he should focus on maximizing defense. This was one of the reasons he became the strongest tank in his past life. Lin Yi noticed a flicker of loneliness in Su Wanning's eyes. Perhaps it was because she saw everyone else had their own class while she was only a despised and rejected spirit. Lin Yi raised his hand, gently patted Su Wanning's shoulder, and said softly, "You will surely be able to change class too. I promise. And don't worry, you will become incredibly powerful in the future. When that time comes, I might even need you to protect me. I believe in you." Su Wanning's originally lonely mood was instantly swept away by Lin Yi's words. A sweet smile reappeared on her face. "Thank you. You saved me. If it weren't for you, I'm afraid." Su Wanning had somewhat recovered from her initial bewilderment and finally expressed her gratitude to Lin Yi. Her feelings toward Lin Yi had always been somewhat different. It was a special sensation, the kind of uniqueness you could spot instantly in a crowd. Unfortunately, due to some past events, Su Wanning dared not reveal her emotions or have more contact with Lin Yi. Lin Yi let out a light laugh, his smile like a spring breeze. He did not tell Su Wanning how difficult it would be for her to change class. After all, even if she knew, it would not help at the moment and would only add to her worries. Now that the simple orientation was over, it was time to start grinding monsters to level up. "Let's go. We need to go out and practice." In their eyes, Tang Junren and Su Wanning both flashed a hint of confusion. Practice. At this moment, Lin Yi had already taken Su Wanning's hand and stood up. Lin Yi still carefully kept Su Wanning protected in front of him. He then led Su Wanning and Tang Junren towards the wooden door of the classroom where no one dared to gather. His actions quickly caught the attention of other classmates. Some girls trembled and asked, "What are you going to do? Didn't the system say that we are all restricted here and cannot leave?" Leaving could very well mean death. Lin Yi glanced at the girl, ignoring her. Perhaps she was genuinely trying to warn him, but good intentions were not enough without wisdom. Lin Yi yanked the wooden door open and stepped outside, with Su Wanning and Tang Junren closely following. Although they didn't know what Lin Yi planned to do, their subconscious told them that following Lin Yi was always the right choice. In the corner of the classroom, Pu Huai's lips curled into a strange arc before he quickly bent down to follow. Outside the classroom, Lin Yi listened intently to the sounds behind him. When faint footsteps sounded, Lin Yi let out a cold laugh, pretending he didn't hear it, and continued walking forward. Sure enough, the guy was still unwilling to give up, just like in his past life, determined to kill him. In that case, Lin Yi would not hold back. Although he was not one to kill indiscriminately, he would not spare those who held a grudge against him. Leaving the classroom was not only because Lin Yi wanted to grind monsters for experience. It was also a terrifying trap he had quietly laid. Lin Yi's actions also drew the attention of all the survivors within the Tongtian Tower. What is he trying to do? Is he really going out to level up now? Has he lost his mind? Is it really possible to go out and grind levels on the first night? I still don't know. Does this kid really think he can handle those mutated creatures? He's only level 1. After all, he's still too weak, without even a single active skill. The first active skill requires level 5 to unlock. In the livestream room of Huaxiao, many survivors gasped in shock. Long Yangqiu was also stunned by Lin Yi's actions. He looked at his deputy Captain Yuan, whose lips were slightly dry, and spoke with difficulty. If I remember correctly, in the 43 parallel worlds, it seems no one has ever done this before, right? Yuan quickly flipped through the information in her hands, and after a moment she nodded affirmatively and replied, "That's right. He is the first in the world." After all, the original intention of the Tongtian Lingta during the first day of Universal Class Transition was just to let everyone understand their profession and passive skills and familiarize themselves with their weapons. The first Universal Dungeon wouldn't have overly difficult monsters, mainly to help newly transitioned players get familiar with the entire process. Long Yangqiu naturally understood this and slowly nodded. However, the Lin Yi before them seemed determined to break this principle. At level 1, not only was his health low and his attack weak, but he also lacked any active skills. How could he deal with those monsters? Was he truly fearless in his ignorance, or did he possess extraordinary talent? Could Huaxiao really produce a genius to turn their fortunes around? Lin Yi's mood was actually quite relaxed at this moment. It's just grinding a monster, or what's so difficult about it? It was just the right opportunity to practice his invincible dodging skills. Grinding monsters before the storm was indeed a sudden burst of creativity from Lin Yi. He thought that since the system had not restricted them from entering the monster activity area, it only proved that grinding was possible. As they passed through the dark and silent corridor, Lin Yi and the others could only hear their own footsteps echoing softly, while ahead the sounds of growling began to emerge. The entire campus was eerily quiet. All classes were isolated within their respective rooms, and no one dared to leave their classroom as freely as Lin Yi. Lin Yi was quite pleased with the tranquility. He didn't want anyone to disturb him while grinding monsters. Su Wanning had at least seen those mutated giant ants, but Tang Junren was filled with unknown terror. He had tightly positioned the shield in his left hand in front of himself, while his right hand trembled as he gripped the short sword. This was the knight's exclusive weapon, the shield and the short sword. "Ego, where are we going? I've never felt the school this eerie before. What are those growling sounds?" At this moment, Tang Junren's teeth had begun to chatter. His gaze toward the front was filled with fear. Lin Yi spoke to reassure him. "Don't be afraid, you are already a transition player now. You must remember that your profession is actually very powerful. You shouldn't fear those monsters, rather those monsters should fear you. We're heading to the school playground. There are some good things there." Tang Junren swallowed hard, feeling an even stronger sense of unease. He had a gut feeling that it definitely wouldn't be anything good. Finally, they reached the playground. At this time, the growling was deafening, and Tang Junren finally saw the group of enormous ants. Those ants could easily have legs thicker than Tang Junren's thighs. Their antennae resembled bull horns with dark barbs glistening ominously in the night. Tang Junren had never seen such a scene before, and took a step back, wanting to flee. Ugh. Just as he was about to let out a shriek, Lin Yi covered his mouth. "Keep your voice down. If you don't provoke them, they won't come over. Haven't you played online games before? Small monsters have a fixed activity range. As long as you don't enter their attack range, they won't attack you." Tang Junren finally calmed down a little, signaling to Lin Yi that he wouldn't scream anymore. Lin Yi then released his hand. "Ego, since they won't attack us, let's hurry and leave. What if we accidentally step into their attack range? That would be dangerous." But Lin Yi chuckled lightly, bringing Su Wanning behind Tang Junren, and said, "Leave. am coming for them. Why? Old Tang protects Su Wanting well. You mustn't let her get hurt in the slightest. Do you understand? Lin Yi pressed down on Tang Junren's shoulder, looking at him with utmost seriousness. Tang Junren was stunned. He had never encountered such a gaze in his 18 years. That gaze was filled with trust. Just a moment ago, Tang Junren had seen how much effort Lin Yi had put in to protect Su Wanting. Even when Lei Xingjia's blade was swung above his head, he did not retreat. Tang Junren could naturally understand how important Su Wanting was to Lin Yi. Therefore, subconsciously, he wanted to shrink back. I can't do it, can I? Lin Yi shook his head slightly, his demeanor extremely serious, and then said, I believe in you, old Tang. You can definitely do it. Do you still remember what I said? We are partners who can trust each other's backs, so I trust you. Tang Junren suddenly felt a bit misty-eyed. He held back his tears and nodded firmly. Then he reacted and quickly asked, So, Ego, what are you going to do? Lin Yi raised an eyebrow. I'm going to grind monsters. Lin Yi's words nearly dropped Tang Junren's jaw. You want to farm monsters? Tang Junren couldn't even begin to imagine what it would be like to face such terrifying giant ants. Lin Yi nodded slightly, no longer explaining further as his gaze turned towards the charging soldier ants. We are currently in a team state, so don't stray too far from me, but don't crowd too close either. Just stand here. If there is any danger, don't mind me, just take Su Wanqing and leave immediately. Do you understand, old Tang? Tang Junren nodded firmly. Su Wanqing, however, felt somewhat uneasy. After hesitating for a while, she finally spoke up. I feel it's very dangerous here. Maybe you shouldn't go. Lin Yi turned back and smiled gently. He was cold and indifferent towards others, but looking at this girl, Lin Yi's heart, once shrouded by the bloodshed of his past life, seemed to find a moment of warmth. Don't worry. Ever since the era of universal job changes began, everyone is always in danger. If you don't bravely confront the dangers before you, you won't survive for long. With that said, Lin Yi walked towards the swarm of soldier ants without looking back. There was actually a part he had yet to explore. In his past life, he had been muddled, lacking the conviction to fight and break through dangers, but in this life, he was determined to make a change. Su Wanqing was somewhat stunned by Lin Yi's words. How much courage did it take for a person to walk towards dozens of giant ants? Tang Junren was equally shocked by this scene. To them, Lin Yi's back seemed small, but his courage was enough to overturn this perilous world. Of course, Lin Yi was not just a reckless fool. He was carefully observing the activity range of the soldier ants. If he approached recklessly, he could trigger multiple soldier ants at once. Moreover, it was important to note that triggered soldier ants could also activate other soldier ants. Therefore, Lin Yi had to be mindful not only of his own positioning, but also that of the soldier ants. This was the most challenging aspect. However, due to the isolation he faced in his past life, Lin Yi had often practiced leveling alone. Coupled with his extreme sensitivity to data, calculating the activity range of small monsters was a breeze for him. Lin Yi stood still, observing for just 2 or 3 minutes before clearly understanding the activity range of the soldier ants and locating a relatively safe soldier ant. Lin Yi took out his novice weapon, a longbow, from the system's backpack and cautiously approached the soldier ant at the. He had already observed that this group of soldier ants could only move diagonally within a square, meaning the soldier ants closer to the edge were less likely to trigger others. Just when the soldier ant was at its farthest distance from the others, Lin Yi no longer hesitated and stepped directly into the attack range of that soldier ant. Buzz. The eyes of that soldier ant instantly turned crimson. Its antennae started shaking wildly, and its front legs excitedly lifted before charging directly at Lin Yi. Seeing this, Tang Junren and Su Wanqing nearly lost their souls. What kind of monster is this? Is this really the kind of small ant they could casually crush? Why did it feel like their identities had switched? Now they were the ones who could be easily crushed. Pu Huai, who had been hiding in the shadows, was also startled, but he quickly became excited and began frantically sending messages in his system interface. Only Lin Yi faced the soldier ant without feeling anything. He had seen many more terrifying and bizarre creatures in his past life. This was just an ant and posed no threat to him. Lin Yi carefully observed the path the soldier ant took as it charged towards him. Once he confirmed it hadn't triggered any other soldier ants, he breathed a sigh of relief, nocked an arrow, and shot at the ant. The life value of this soldier ant was actually quite low, even lower than Lei Xingjia's. However, their attack power was extremely strong, and their speed was very fast. If hit by a soldier ant, it would directly result in a loss of 30 health points. Not only that, but the most terrifying aspect of the soldier ant was its skills. The soldier ant truly lived up to its name, as its skill was indeed a charge. The speed of the charge was almost impossible to react to, and its power would increase to 150 of their attack power instantly, deducting 45 health points. Lin Yi only had 132 health points in total, which could not withstand several skills from this soldier ant. Therefore, positioning was particularly important. Fortunately, Lin Yi now had the invincible evasion technique. Lin Yi's arrow struck the soldier ant's hard shell, failing to inflict any significant damage, but a 6 appeared above the ant's head. Seeing this, Lin Yi frowned slightly. How could it be a 6? Normally his attack power was 11, so it should have deducted 11 health points from the soldier ant. Soon Lin Yi understood. It was due to level suppression. This soldier ant was at level 5. Lin Yi's level was too low, causing his attack to be weakened to varying degrees. Lin Yi then realized the tricky aspect of farming monsters on the eve of a storm. It doesn't matter, just shoot a few more arrows. Lin Yi smiled lightly, maintaining his calm demeanor. In an instant, the soldier ant was almost upon Lin Yi, raising its massive front leg and kicking towards him. Be careful. Su Wanqing was nearly beside herself with fear upon seeing this. If Lin Yi got hit by that kick, he wouldn't survive. If it weren't for Tang Junren holding her back, Su Wanqing might have already rushed in. Tang Junren remembered Lin Yi's words. He would definitely protect Su Wanqing well. However, Tang Junren also dared not look at the scene that was about to unfold, tightly shutting his eyes. Long Yanqiu stared at the monitor, sighing softly. Lin Yi is too impulsive. Facing this soldier ant at level 1 is indeed a bit too dangerous. You probably won't be able to dodge that kick. While it won't be fatal, Lin Yi will definitely be at a disadvantage afterwards. Don't forget there's also Pu Huai lurking nearby. In the playground, Pu Huai, hidden in the shadows, showed a delighted smile. He fixed his fierce gaze on Lin Yi, roaring madly in his heart. Quick, big ant, just crush him. That way I can reap the benefits. This idiot Lin Yi definitely didn't expect I would be here waiting to steal his monster. You are still too inexperienced. When I was dominating online games, you were still doing those rubbish math problems. Even as the attack was closing in, Lin Yi maintained his archery stance. At this moment, the terrifyingly large front leg of the soldier ant was already hovering above Lin Yi's head, its hard bristles seeming to touch the tips of Lin Yi's hair. Lin Yi's expression remained unchanged. He gently released the hold on the arrow, and at the same time took a slow step to his right. This step resembled a dancer gracefully stepping out, producing a movement that strummed the heartstrings of the boom. The foreleg of the stabbing soldier ant slammed down hard on the ground of the playground, a thunderous sound echoing throughout the campus. In the darkness, a single word slowly floated above Lin Yi's head. Miss. Lin Yi actually dodged the attack of the soldier ant, because Lin Yi had already moved a small step. A small step light as a feather. This step seemed simple, but it was actually a combination of Lin Yi's exquisite calculation ability and the invincible dodging technique granted by his external aid. When the stabbing ant lifted its foreleg, the invincible dodging technique immediately provided a dodging plan. After Lin Yi's rapid calculations, he swiftly concluded that the invincible dodging technique was indeed correct. A simple small step was all that was needed to escape the attack range of the stabbing soldier ant. This invincible dodging technique was truly useful. Seeing this scene, some were happy while others were worried. Pu Huai, who thought Lin Yi would be kicked to death by the stabbing soldier ant, wore a face of disappointment. His concealed body involuntarily clenched into a fist. This stupid ant, it couldn't even hit him. Su Wan looked in disbelief at the scene, and then her expression broke into one of joy. She hurriedly nudged Tang Junren beside her, voice trembling. Look, Lin Yi, he's still alive. Really? Tang Junren suddenly looked up and truly saw Lin Yi safe and sound. Tang Junren and Su Wan looked at each other, both seeing the shock in each other's eyes. Was Lin Yi simply too amazing? Where did he get the confidence and courage to be so certain he wouldn't get hit? This scene left all the survivors in the Tongtian Tower who were watching Lin Yi completely stunned. What the hell? What did they just see? Long Yanqiu snapped back to reality from a moment of confusion, his fist crashing down on the table in front of him, actually smashing a hole in it. This kid is so impressive. He could accurately judge the attack range of the stabbing soldier ant, and was incredibly confident in his own judgment. A small step movement directly evaded the ant's attack, and he even remembered to add an arrow to the stabbing soldier ant afterward. Not a step too many, not a step too few. Just a small step. This calmness, this decisiveness, this judgment. Incredible. The eyes of the female illusionist behind Long Yanqiu seemed to sparkle with starlight as she murmured, "Is this really a new player who just changed jobs on the first day? How can I feel he's even more seasoned than some veteran players? I've never seen anyone fight a monster with such elegance. Look, even from start to finish, Lin Yi's expression never changed. He has extraordinary confidence in his own judgment." Usually if Yuan saw Long Yanqiu damaging the facilities in the Tongtian Tower, she would definitely scold him. Last time when Long Yanqiu merely broke a chair, Yuan chased him and scolded him for an hour. After all, damages need compensation. But this time Yuan couldn't care less about scolding, excitedly saying. Moreover, when he calculated the attack range of the stabbing soldier ant, just now, he was not only fast, but also incredibly bold. Or rather, he was very confident in his calculations. I just thought of something. His math grades. He probably has a natural sensitivity to data, and yet even so he was terrifyingly precise. I just calculated it on the computer. Look. Yuan displayed the activity range of the stabbing soldier ant on her computer. Everyone saw that before Lin Yi stepped into that range, he had already made thorough preparations. He knew that his next step would definitely trigger the stabbing soldier ant. He was extremely confident. Long Yangxiu curiously looked at Yuan and asked, "If it were you, how long would it take to calculate all this?" Yuan was taken aback, immediately putting herself in Lin Yi's situation just now. After a moment, she reached a terrifying conclusion. His calculation speed is no weaker than mine right now. But I have hundreds of battles worth of experience. The Lin Yi back then who had just awakened was definitely far weaker than the Lin Yi of now. The moment others heard this, they instantly turned their astonished gazes towards Yuan. Yuan was the strongest in calculation ability among the survivors, and her words undoubtedly elevated Lin Yi to another level. At this moment, Lin Yi's mistakes in point selection and his teammates' choices had all been cast aside by everyone. They only wanted to know what astonishing actions Lin Yi would take next. At this point, not only were the survivors from Huaxia staring at Lin Yi, but every floor within the Tongtian Tower was brightly lit. Every country's team leaders and analysts were frantically recording Lin Yi's information and all the actions he had taken since the public job change era began. The captain of the Lighthouse Nation was named Andrew Fu, a genius that had been mentioned repeatedly. At this moment, he was frowning as he repeatedly watched the light and steady step Lin Yi took. He is just an ordinary person who has just awakened his profession. How on earth did he judge all this? Beside Andrew, a blonde girl was pressing closely against him, her mountainous chest brushing against Andrew's strong arm, seemingly hinting at something. "Oh, Andrew, don't pay attention to that kid. Why not let us go do something fun?" Andrew impatiently pushed the girl aside and turned to another man behind him, asking in a low voice, "Is this parallel world the last one?" The man behind him had a scruffy beard and looked extremely disheveled, with remnants of pizza sauce from yesterday or the day before clinging to the corners of his mouth. But his bright eyes seemed to sparkle with clarity, as if nothing in the world could escape his calculations. After computing on the tablet in his hand, the bearded man nodded affirmatively. "The Tongtian Tower has already gone through 43 parallel worlds. That's right, this is indeed the last one, the 44th. After the 44 disaster dungeons of this parallel world in the Tongtian Tower will likely undergo another transformation. At that time, it's very possible that competition dungeons between countries will emerge." Upon hearing this, Andrew's frown deepened. If Lin Yi survives until the end, how dangerous will it be for Huaxia? The bearded man began to calculate again. During his calculations, his eyes even sparkled with dazzling. Soon he provided an answer. Nightmare level. Andrew's expression instantly changed drastically. Lin Yi had no time to indulge in the luck of having narrowly escaped death. Taking advantage of the stabbing soldier ant's moment of stiffness after its attack, he quickly shot out 2 arrows. In fact, given his speed in knocking an arrow, shooting another arrow wouldn't be difficult. However, he could not stay here any longer. The stabbing soldier ant's attack methods were not limited to just its forelegs. It could even use its antennae for sweeping attacks. If Lin Yi got too close, it would be extremely dangerous. Lin Yi quickly created distance. He ensured he wouldn't exceed the stabbing soldier ant's activity range, while also not getting too close, avoiding giving the ant any opportunity. If he left the activity range of the stabbing soldier ant, it would quickly turn back to its original position, restoring any health Lin Yi had painstakingly depleted. Lin Yi did not want his efforts to go to waste. However, just as he knocked an arrow and prepared to continue attacking the stabbing soldier ant, an unexpected change occurred. The stabbing soldier ant suddenly raised its head, shook its head, and bent its foreleg. Lin Yi's eyes narrowed. The stabbing soldier ant was about to unleash a skill. If he was hit by this stabbing soldier ant, he would instantly lose 45 health points. The difficulty of dealing with monsters would significantly increase afterward. He must dodge as much as possible. Lin Yi instantly abandoned the idea of continuing to shoot arrows and stored his longbow in his backpack. This would slightly increase his movement speed. Though not significantly at this moment, every bit helps. The attack range of this skill was much wider than that of the stabbing soldier ant's regular attacks, making it absolutely not easy to evade. Moreover, this stabbing skill would also slightly change direction, further complicating Lin Yi's evasion. However, the stabbing soldier ant was ultimately just a mindless beast. Lin Yi still had a strategy. Though his chances were slim, he had to try. Finally, the stabbing soldier ant was ready, its massive figure charging towards Lin Yi like a ghost. Its long antennae shot towards Lin Yi's chest like a gigantic spear in a flash. In the moment before the stabbing soldier ant charged out, Lin Yi feigned a dodge to the right. This scene was naturally captured by the stabbing soldier ant's crimson eyes. Thus, the foreleg of the stabbing soldier ant slightly adjusted towards the direction Lin Yi was feigning to dodge before it charged out. But in that instant, Lin Yi suddenly changed direction, leaping in the opposite direction, curling his body in midair like a ball, landing and rolling away for a distance. This scene was as if the rolling animation from a game had been executed by a real person. Of course, this was still thanks to the assistance of the invincible dodging technique. Lin Yi was immensely grateful that he had chosen to exchange for this reward. Tang Junren and the other's eyes widened in shock. Did Yi practice martial arts? He can actually do that move. This is too amazing. The shock Lin Yi brought them was like waves one after another crashing endlessly. However, it must be said that if it weren't for his feint causing the stabbing soldier ant to change direction and rolling to evade, he absolutely wouldn't have had time to dodge the ant's skill. After all, the distance was simply too close. If the previous small step evading the stabbing soldier ant showcased Lin Yi's precise calculation ability, then this time the feint and roll demonstrated Lin Yi's powerful psychological quality and strategy along with his agile body control. This was simply not a level that an ordinary high school student could exhibit. Sure enough, this scene instantly ignited excitement within the Tontian Tower. Terrifying. It's simply too terrifying. Lin Yi is impressive, that roll was too cool. But there is still a slight flaw. If he had shot a soul-chasing arrow while rolling, he could have dodged while attacking. Are you an idiot? He's only level 1, you want him to use a level 10 skill, like the soul-chasing arrow. Are you cheating? What the hell? I was so engrossed that I forgot. Mainly because his actions really didn't resemble those of a level 1 newbie at all. The Huaxia survivor slapped his forehead in regret, realizing he had almost forgotten that he was watching a mere level 1 newcomer who had just awakened less than half an hour ago. Some newcomers haven't even finished their profession introduction, while others can already challenge a mutated monster alone. This is the disparity of the world, right? Exactly. So Lin Yi's adaptability is truly strong. Upon hearing the discussions of his teammates behind him, Long Yanqiu suddenly had a flash of inspiration, wanting to slam his hand on the table before remembering that he had already broken it. But this didn't stop him from rising excitedly, declaring loudly, "I know what Lin Yi's talent is. It's unparalleled adaptability." Everyone looked at Long Yanqiu in confusion. Dragon Team Long Yanqiu, a bit excited, pointed to the seemingly ordinary reports of Lin Yi in his hand. In the original ordinary world, he indeed performed extremely ordinarily, because the rules of that world had been set from the moment everyone was born. Everyone knew from a young age that they had to study hard and take university entrance exams, so Lin Yi's adaptability couldn't be fully demonstrated. But now, with the sudden onset of the public job change era, all plans have been shattered and the rules have been altered. At this moment, Lin Yi's abilities have been highlighted. So while the announcement was still ongoing, he detected the abnormality beside his desk, swiftly destroyed the cyst, becoming the first player to achieve a first kill in the entire server. Perhaps he didn't even know about the rewards, it was just that this thing appeared before him, and he instinctively chose to. Then he quickly accepted the fact that the public job change era had arrived, ignoring the confusion of others, and swiftly analyzed that strength was the most crucial aspect to clear the dungeons, so he chose to grind monsters. Things that would take others a day to understand and accept, he only needed a moment to grasp. That is his talent. Is that what you mean, Dragon Team? Hearing Yuan's even more detailed analysis than his own, Long Yanqiu nodded excitedly, saying, "Exactly, that's the meaning." Yuan wasn't done speaking as she too was excited and continued, "In addition, we have just discovered his With the help of his mathematical talent, he can quickly discern the patterns of the public job change era and apply them. This flow of data makes it easy to become a strong player." Long Yanqiu nodded repeatedly, uncontrollably applauding and praising. "This Lin Yi is truly I can't wait to report to the leader," Long Yanqiu said excitedly. Yuan, who had been supporting Long Yanqiu, quickly calmed down her rationality, causing her to slowly shake her head, saying, "It might not be wise to alert the leader now. This is only the first day." In the Tontian Tower, there were various types of people. One type was survivors like Long Yanqiu. They were all strong individuals who survived through the 44 disaster dungeons in their respective parallel worlds. Besides them, there were also leaders. The leaders were shrouded in mystery and would not appear unless making important decisions. It is said that the leaders were all selected from the survivors by the Tontian Tower. As for what lay beyond, it was only the legendary decision makers. But no one had ever seen them. "I was impulsive," Long Yanqiu reflected after hearing Yuan's words, his gaze once again falling on the screen. They hadn't even experienced the first disaster dungeon yet. Discussing these matters was indeed a bit premature. However, he now held great hopes for Lin Yi. Long Yanqiu turned his gaze towards the other screens of the Huaxia server. At this moment, most of the other screens displayed similar scenes of crying, confusion, and despair. Only on the screen where Lin Yi was located was an intense battle taking place. However, this time Long Yanqiu was not watching Lin Yi, but rather the lurking Pu Huai not far away. "Do you think Lin Yi can survive Pu Huai's ambush?" After evading the stab of the soldier ant, Lin Yi felt a significant reduction in pressure. Although he could only inflict 6 points of damage with each attack, the soldier ant's health was not substantial. Now Lin Yi just needed to shoot one more arrow to successfully kill this soldier ant. Logically, Lin Yi should have been able to relax a bit at this point. This was the thought of Tang Junren and Su Wan. The two of them looked at the soldier ant's health bar and let out a sigh of relief. Lin Yi really succeeded. "Yi is amazing. If it were me, I would have been dead long ago," Tang Junren said sincerely. Su Wanqing nodded in agreement. However, Lin Yi, who was drawing his bow, couldn't help but curl his lips in a cold smile. Amazing. This is just the beginning. Now I'm going to give you both another lesson. In the era of universal job changes, what is more terrifying than monsters is always the human heart. As faint footsteps sounded behind Lin Yi, he chuckled coldly and said softly, I've been waiting for you for a long time, good brother. Suddenly Lin Yi's arrow shot through the air. But this time his target was not the soldier ant, but a space of just when Tang Junren and Su Wanqing thought Lin Yi had missed, a figure unexpectedly materialized. Pu Huai. That was their classmate Pu Huai. He appeared out of nowhere in the night, looking horrified as he stared at the arrow Lin Yi shot straight at him. Impossible. How did you know I was here? Lin Yi sneered. There are too many impossible things, yet this one is possible. The Shadow Assassin's invisibility skill is not invincible. The Shadow Assassin's passive skill is called invisibility, which can last for 5 minutes and will only reveal itself again after being attacked or attacking. In Pu Huai's eyes, this skill was undoubtedly the strongest for ambushes. He couldn't comprehend how Lin Yi managed to predict his location. In the next moment after the arrow struck Pu Huai, it curved again and shot towards the low-health soldier ant. The soldier ant's health was instantly depleted. At that moment, a golden light flashed on Lin Yi, Tang Junren, and Su Wanqing. They leveled up. Frustrated after failing to steal the kill, Pu Huai's eyes turned crimson with anger as he glared fiercely at Lin Yi. Lin Yi, you still think so highly of yourself. Do you really think that if I can't steal the kill, I can't kill you? I swear you and that bitch Su Wanqing will soon go to hell together. Lin Yi looked at Pu Huai before him, his expression still calm, but his eyes were as cold as ice. The hatred from ancient times surged back into Lin Yi's mind like a tide. He and Pu Huai had a long-standing grudge. The reason was Su Wanqing. During middle school, Pu Huai and Lin Yi were actually close friends, and Pu Huai was well aware of Lin Yi's feelings for Su Wanqing. However, Pu Huai still secretly confessed his feelings to Su Wanqing. After being rejected, Pu Huai in a fit of anger publicly slandered Su Wanqing and insulted her as a fake innocent bitch. This incident infuriated Lin Yi, who beat Pu Huai severely, and their relationship was completely severed. Even though they were in the same class again in senior year, they never spoke a word to each other. In his past life, Pu Huai caused Lin Yi a lot of trouble behind his back. If it weren't for Lin Yi's good fortune, he might have been killed by Pu Huai in his previous life. This time Lin Yi would not give Pu Huai that opportunity again. Lin Yi narrowed his eyes slightly, first confirming Su Wanqing's safety, then coldly gazing at Pu Huai across from him, sneering, Is it just you? You are still level 1, while I am already level 2. Do you understand the gap between us? Pu Huai, holding a dagger, revealed a sinister smile. Lin Yi, don't try to bluff me. What if you are level 2? Can you fly to the sky? Do you think I am that fool Lei Jingyi who only knows how to fight alone? You really think a few words can scare me? Lin Yi's peripheral vision was still on Pu Huai while he glanced. At that moment, behind him stood 7 or 8 of his classmates. Mei Lian, who had previously been dissatisfied with Su Wanqing, was among them. Although Lin Yi had a minor conflict with Mei Lian, just now he had not interacted much with the other classmates. However, while there was a trace of fear in their eyes towards Lin Yi, what was more prominent was the hatred and ferocity. Lin Yi felt somewhat puzzled. Why did they harbor such great hatred towards him? Pu Huai looked at Lin Yi's expression of confusion with satisfaction. He sneered and shouted to the classmates who had just arrived, Classmates, do you wish to live under the same roof as a heartless murderer like him? Furthermore, this demon even protects the evil spirits we are supposed to kill. His selfish actions will ultimately push us into the abyss of death. Those who are not of our kind must have different hearts. How could we possibly coexist with such evil spirits? Although she was our classmate before, she has changed now. We can no longer harbor any compassion. Everyone say, should we kill Lin Yi and Su Wanqing? At this point, Pu Huai was still instigating the classmates. Instigating the hearts of others had always been Pu Huai's forte. Earlier, he had been privately messaging each classmate through the friend-adding function in the system space, preparing to secretly gather a group to kill Lin Yi. Although the classmates felt a bit scared, they were outnumbered, and with Pu Huai's constant incitement, they all gripped their weapons tightly and shouted in unison, Kill! We will eliminate the evil spirits. Kill Lin Yi. They had full trust in Pu Huai's brainwashing. Pu Huai looked at all of this with satisfaction. See, Lin Yi, everyone hates you and wants to kill you. You are truly a failure. What if you are level 2? There are 9 of us here. Wanting to kill the 3 of you is simply a piece of cake. Pu Huai's narrow eyes glanced at Tang Junren, who was still trembling and holding up his shield, and he sneered mockingly. You fat idiot, not only do you look terrible, but your judgment is also poor, actually choosing to side with this demon. However, we can give you a chance for redemption. As long as you turn around and kill that bitch behind you, we will let the past be the past. How about it? Tang Junren's heart raced. He looked at the sinister and frenzied faces of his classmates and felt genuine fear. He didn't understand why everyone had changed like this. Pu Huai's enticing words stirred no emotions in Tang He still remembered Lin Yi's encouraging words from earlier. He felt that Lin Yi was definitely not a bad person. Suddenly Tang Junren's hand holding the shield stopped trembling. You should give up. I am guess. Partner. Pu Huai seeing this lost interest in Tang Junren's further words only sneering disdainfully. Partner. I see you are just a loyal dog of Lin Yi. Lin Yi looked at Pu Huai who was constantly blustering before him and suddenly felt a sense of absurdity. 9 people. Was that supposed to be a lot? Lin Yi chuckled inwardly, too lazy to bother with Pu Huai. He opened his attribute panel in his mind and allocated the newly gained attribute points to physique and luck. At this moment, due to the level increase, Lin Yi's data panel changed again. Lin Yi first blood title equipped level 2, HP 193, 17518, attack 17, 152, magic power 11, 101 Ana 83, 758, agility 20, 182, luck 2. Lin Yi also did not forget to remind Tang Junren. Old Tang, don't forget to allocate your attribute points after leveling up. Tang Junren, whose face was tense, was startled, then finally came to his senses. He quickly opened his panel and added all 2 free attribute points to physique. In an instant, Tang Junren's HP became 215. Lin Yi had already confirmed it with a quick. Behind him were a total of 8 classmates, including 2 radiant mages, 2 bloodthirsty warriors, 1 dark hunter, 1 glory priest, and 2 shadow assassins. Plus Pu Huai in front of Lin Yi was also a shadow assassin. That made 9 enemies in total, 4 ranged classes and 5 melee classes. Lin Yi's current HP was 193, actually not low. However, if each of the 9 people managed to hit him twice, Lin Yi would likely die on the spot. To kill these people, he still had to rely on wits. Although his situation was dangerous, Lin Yi knew he couldn't panic or get flustered. He had to stay calm. The more dangerous the moment, the more he needed to calm himself down. At that moment, Lin Yi's peripheral vision caught Tang Junren, wanting to step forward to help. He quickly shouted in a low voice, Old Tang. Don't forget what I said. Just do your job and leave me alone. Tang Junren's foot, which had just taken a step, paused and then retreated again. But Su Wanning, standing behind Tang Junren, kept urging. Go quickly. How can he possibly fight so many? Don't worry about me. This is all because of me. Su Wanning's face was covered in blood-red tears that never stopped, looking extremely eerie. But Tang Junren remained unmoved, shielding Su Wanning firmly behind him, and stubbornly said, Brother, Yi told me to protect you, so I will definitely protect you. If they want to hurt you, they'll have to step over my dead body. Don't worry, brother, Yi is so capable. He'll definitely be fine. The 2 of us just need to try not to cause trouble. Seeing that Tang Junren was obediently protecting Su Wanning, Lin Yi felt relieved. He began to ponder countermeasures in his mind. As for these classes, Radiant Mages at level 1 had no special skills besides firing orbs with their staffs. They were relatively easy to deal with. Dark Hunters also required high archery skills, making it difficult for novices to aim accurately. As for Glory Priest, this class had virtually no combat ability. So the ones Lin Yi really needed to watch out for were actually just 2 bloodthirsty warriors and 2 shadow assassins. Lin Yi cast a provocative glance at Pu Huai before him and chuckled. Are you all going to come at me together? As if feeling Lin Yi's sneering gaze, Pu Huai grew even more hysterical inside. He couldn't understand. Why could this Lin Yi still laugh when death was imminent? Pu Huai hated Lin Yi's demeanor of being so confident and carefree about everything. His desire to kill Lin Yi became even more frantic. Pu Huai's face darkened, veins bulging on his right hand gripping the dagger, and he growled through gritted teeth. Has no one ever told you that you're too cocky? Everyone attack. Today you and this bitch are both going to die. Lin Yi, this is the price you pay for a fin. With Pu Huai's command, everyone instantly charged at Lin Yi. Lin Yi reacted quickly, first creating some distance from Pu Huai, who was nearest, while using his peripheral vision to track the positions of the other melee classes. Pu Huai sneered contemptuously. Run. Do you think you can outrun all of us? The dagger in Pu Huai's hand gleamed with a chilling light as he charged toward Lin Yi. Lin Yi saw the ruthlessness and murderous intent in Pu Huai's eyes. Idiot. Lin Yi taunted, swiftly employing the quick knock and draw technique with practiced ease, then shot an arrow. Pu Huai tensed up as if facing a great threat, intending to dodge the arrow. But to his surprise, the arrow did not hit him. Instead, it flew crookedly to the side. Seeing this, Pu Huai was overjoyed, a mocking grin spreading across his lips. Oh, what's wrong with you? Can't even see where I am. Your hands are shaking that much. Pu Huai thought Lin Yi must be scared. This guy was just pretending to be calm. But not far away, Mei Lian pointed at something behind Pu Huai with a terrified face and stammered, Pu Huai. Watch out. The monster behind you moved. Lin Yi sneered. That's right. This arrow was never aimed at Pu Huai from the start. It was aimed at the stabbing soldier ant not far behind him. The stabbing soldier ant, struck by the arrow, instantly turned its eyes blood red, its large antennae twitching as it turned its head toward the direction the arrow came from. After shooting the arrow, Lin Yi did not hesitate for a moment and immediately sprinted in the opposite direction. He also dodged an arrow from an enemy dark hunter that had gone astray. And not just that, countless arrows and orbs shot toward Lin Yi instantly. These people had just changed classes and couldn't control the flight speed of orbs and bolts properly, unable to predict, resulting in almost all of them missing. It was all thanks to Lin Yi's decisive escape. By the time the stabbing soldier ant turned around, Lin Yi had already run out of its attack range. Thus, the stabbing soldier ant's bewildered, yet bloodshot gaze swept around, and then landed on Pu Huai, who was closest to it. This was Lin Yi's first step: divert the trouble. Divert the trouble. When Pu Huai turned around at Mei Lian's warning, the spike soldier ant was already charging at him. As the massive creature thundered toward him, Pu Huai's soul nearly fled in terror. What the hell? You idiot. I didn't hit you. Why are you coming for me? Luckily, he had secretly observed Lin Yi's tactics earlier and had some understanding of the spike soldier ant's attack pattern, so he frantically dodged the ant's front legs. But gazing at the ant's terrifying forelimbs, Pu Huai's legs turned to jelly. Moreover, Lin Yi's evasion had seemed so simple, yet now that Pu Huai faced the ant himself, he realized Lin Yi was an absolute monster. How had he precisely judged the landing point of the spike soldier ant's front legs in the pitch darkness? In his panic, Pu Huai failed to dodge and was directly swept by the ant's forelimbs. Pu Huai was sent flying by the ant's strike. Fortunately, just before being hit, the dagger in his hand happened to stab into the spike soldier ant's body. 15:34. Two numbers floated above Pu Huai and the spike soldier ant. The smaller one above the ant, the larger above Pu Huai. Lin Yi raised an eyebrow in surprise. Pu Huai had actually dealt 15 damage. That was more than double Lin Yi's own output. And this was even after the level penalty. Lin Yi quickly calculated that Pu Huai's attack power must be. There was only one way to achieve such high attack. Pu Huai must have allocated both talent points into strength. This guy really doesn't value his life. 2 points into strength means his HP is extremely fragile, and his speed won't have any major advantage either. He's lost the kiting ability of an assassin. Pu Huai, knocked to the ground, was surprised to see that his single strike had taken nearly 30 of the spike soldier ant's health. He had just seen Lin Yi's arrows deal only 6 damage. So if he landed 3 more hits, he could kill this. If he could level up, his chances of killing Lin Yi would be even higher. Excitement surged through Pu Huai at the thought. Lin Yi was digging his own grave. Pu Huai scrambled to his feet and glanced at the other battle. The 4 melee players would need some time to catch up to Lin Yi, but the ranged ones could already attack him with their reach. Though their previous attacks had been dodged, Pu Huai didn't believe Lin Yi could keep this up forever. Lin Yi was nothing but a trapped beast. Quick! All melee fighters, come here and help me take down this big thing. 1 hit each, and it's done. The rest keep chasing Lin Yi. Pu Huai shouted excitedly to the other 8. The melee players raised an eyebrow, confused, but abandoned their pursuit and charged toward the spike soldier ant in front of Pu Huai. They were still wary of the enormous ant. Pu Huai urged them impatiently, "Go. Get in there. Together. 3 hits, and it's dead. Then we all level up." As Lin Yi dodged the ranged attacks, a faint smile tugged at his lips. "Go ahead, that's a trap I set for you." He turned his gaze to the 4 ranged players, Blazing Mage, Dark Hunter, and his eyes locked onto the Glory Priest, a short girl whom he remembered as a sports student named. "You, a Glory Priest, are useless before level 5 and have no damage output. Why bother joining the fray? Isn't living better?" Han Ran's eyes blazed with fury. "Why didn't you let Lei Jing live when you killed him? He was my boyfriend. You murdered him. I will avenge him." Lin Yi understood. A lover's quarrel. That explained things. He smiled. "Don't worry, you'll send you to meet." With that, he knocked an arrow and drew the string with blinding speed, releasing a single arrow that flew straight. Han Ran tried to dodge in terror, but she was too slow and was struck by the arrow. Mei Lian was furious. 4 of them surrounding one Lin Yi, and he still managed to land the first hit. "Are you all useless?" she shouted in exasperation. "He's standing still now. Kill him." The Dark Hunter tried to imitate Lin Yi's archery, but his arrows were slower and far less accurate. Lin Yi easily sidestepped with a casual step. Lin Yi paid no heed. He retreated slowly while firing another arrow at Han Ran. But this time the arrow underwent a strange transformation. The wooden shaft turned pitch black as if shrouded in a layer of dark mist. Lin Yi's heart leaped. Hell yeah, he had triggered Black Mark. Lucky break. Thanks to his increased HP, the damage from Black Mark had risen to 4 points per second for 10 seconds, a total of 40 damage. Given that each of Lin Yi's arrows only dealt 17 damage, triggering the passive was like firing over. Han Ran was only level 1 and surely hadn't boosted her constitution, so she had about 66 HP left. That was just the current value. After 10 seconds, when Black Mark's damage had fully ticked, she'd be down to 26. 2 arrows. Lin Yi smiled and drew again. He ignored everyone else. Every shot was aimed. While attacking Han Ran, he continued to evade incoming attacks, his own HP remaining full. After another arrow flew, his gaze shifted to Pu Huai's fight. The melee players had just closed in, raising their swords and daggers to strike the spike soldier ant. Pu Huai, having scrambled back up, charged in as well. His eyes lit up. If all hits landed, it would be an instant kill. But Lin Yi sneered contemptuously. Fools. Do you think this big ant is stupid? Sure enough, the spike soldier ant's antennae twitched violently, and it stomped straight toward Pu Huai. Pu Huai's face drained of color. What the hell? Is it insane? Why is it still coming after me? Indeed, what Pu Huai did not know was that the stabbing soldier ant had a system akin to a video game's aggro value system, whereby its attack target would always be the one with the highest aggro. The others, no matter how close they were, would not be attacked by the stabbing soldier ant. If Pu Huai remained still from afar, it was indeed possible that he might get hit. Unfortunately, Pu Huai was still too arrogant. He even wanted to attempt to kill the stabbing soldier ant himself. As it suddenly stood up, its antennae swept back, knocking away 2 melee players from the side. The 2 in front were fortunate enough to escape unharmed, successfully hitting the stabbing soldier ant. 15. 15. 2 sets of numbers floated above the stabbing soldier ant's head. Pu Huai, who was hurriedly dodging, was overjoyed. Quick! It only has 5 health points left. Just one strike, and this giant ant would be dead. But at that moment, an arrow shot through the air, striking the stabbing soldier ant's body instantly. Pu Huai was dumbfounded. He didn't level up. All the experience had been snatched away. Who took his wild monster? Pu Huai's eyes turned crimson as he scanned the surroundings, and the next moment, he saw Lin Yi's radiant smile. Thank you. At this moment, 2 streams of golden light flashed around Lin Yi. Lin Yi leveled up twice. Pu Huai's face was filled with disbelief. No, Lin Yi, you won't die a good death. He roared in anger, wishing to rush up and tear Lin Yi apart. Pu Huai's chest heaved, his face quickly turning red, and his eyes were bloodshot. The monster was stolen. He had been robbed of his monster. Indeed, he hadn't managed to take Lin Yi's monster even while invisible, but now he was watching Lin Yi effortlessly steal his monster. It was so nonchalant. But just as Pu Huai was about to rush up, a voice filled with terror suddenly rang out. Not good. I triggered another stabbing soldier ant. Pu Huai abruptly turned his head to look. It was the shadow assassin who had been knocked away, and he happened to be knocked right in front of a stabbing soldier ant. The stabbing soldier ant would naturally not show him any mercy. It raised its thick foreleg and stomped down towards the shadow assassin. 35. The high damage floated above the shadow assassin's head. Save me, Pu Huai, save me. That shadow assassin had never encountered such a situation and immediately began to scream desperately. Pu Huai was also stunned and could only shout frantically, run. The shadow assassin wanted to escape the attack range of the stabbing soldier ant too. But as the stabbing soldier ant stomped down, the shadow assassin was almost embedded into the ground. How could he escape so easily? He desperately clawed at the ground, trying to crawl out. But the next attack from the stabbing soldier ant had already arrived. Boom. Another stomp came down. 35. The familiar numbers appeared once more. After enduring 2 consecutive attacks from the stabbing soldier ant, the shadow assassin's health had alarmingly hit rock bottom. At this moment, tears almost streamed from the shadow assassin's eyes as he desperately tried to get up. I was wrong. I'm scared, don't kill me. Unfortunately, no matter how pitiful the shadow assassin's cries were, the stabbing soldier ant would show no mercy. This stabbing soldier ant had no intelligence. It only knew one thing: to kill all humans in front of it. Boom. In front of everyone, the stabbing soldier ant crushed the shadow assassin to death. With just 3 attacks, it took only 3 attacks for the shadow assassin to turn into dust and vanish from this world. He had intended to kill Lin Yi, but unexpectedly, before he could accomplish that, he had perished. Pu Huai and several other melee players were left dumbfounded. The closest players even felt their legs. What was even more terrifying was that after killing the shadow assassin, the stabbing soldier ant did not cease its rampage. Instead, it turned its gaze towards the remaining players, swaying its massive body as it charged towards them. This nearly scared everyone out of their wits. Yet Pu Huai reacted the fastest, quickly shouting, "Don't panic. This thing isn't that scary. Let's work together to kill." The terrified players could hardly listen, with 2 of them desperately trying to flee, once again rushing towards Lin Yi. Pu Huai, leave this monster to you guys. We're going to kill Lin Yi. To them, killing Lin Yi seemed much easier than taking down the monster. Pu Huai felt as if he would grind his teeth to dust. These 2 bastards. They actually left the stabbing soldier ant for Pu Huai and another bloodthirsty warrior. The 2 exchanged glances, both somewhat at a loss. Pu Huai took a deep breath and slowly said to the bloodthirsty warrior, "Old Zhang, don't panic. Let's work together. Killing this monster won't be a problem." Old Zhang nervously nodded. He had no choice. It was already too late for him to think about fleeing now. The stabbing soldier ant had already locked onto him. This scene was all witnessed by Lin Yi, who was not far away. Lin Yi couldn't help but chuckle quietly. Sure enough, they are all fools. Actually, as long as they run out of a certain range, they can shake off the monster's aggro. They are still too young. If they are young, then let them suffer a bit. Although Lin Yi was focused on Pu Huai, he had not given up on attacking. Just now, stealing that monster had directly allowed Lin Yi to level up twice. Now Lin Yi had reached level 4. The reason he could level up so much was that he had previously canceled the party with Tang Junren and Su Wanning. The first monster was shared among 3 people, with each person leveling up once. The experience from the second stabbing soldier ant was solely enjoyed by Lin Yi, allowing him to level up twice. At this moment Lin Yi's attack power had directly increased to 30 points. Meanwhile Han Ran looked at her dwindling health bar, and she only had 20 health points left. Now she was genuinely feeling scared. Han Ran looked at Lin Yi, who still seemed calm and collected not far away, and shouted, "Lin Yi, why are you always attacking me?" Lin Yi smiled. "Aren't you missing Lei Jingyi? I thought I'd send you to him quickly. But since you don't like me hitting you, then I won't hit you anymore." Saying this, Lin Yi's next arrow indeed shot straight towards the dazzling mage next to Han Ran. Seeing this, Han Ran let out a sigh of relief and quickly turned to flee. Mei Lian nearly went mad with anger at this sight. Han Ran actually fled. "Han Ran, what are you doing? Come back. I'm not killing anymore. I don't want to die. I really don't want to die. I'm still a virgin." Mei Lian shouted furiously. "Han Ran, after we kill Lin Yi, I will definitely expel you from our class." While dodging magic ball attacks, Lin Yi, "Want to leave? It's not that easy. The damage from Black Mark hasn't been fully calculated yet. It's only been 3 seconds. Han Ran only has 20 health points left, and without any health recovery potions, she will definitely die in less than 5 seconds. Lin Yi was simply too lazy to waste another arrow. The 2 melee players were quickly approaching. He needed to finish. Sure enough, after 5 seconds, 2 screams echoed across the playground. One was Han Ran, who had not yet made it back to the classroom, and the other was the Xianling mage who was beside him. Both of their health bars were simultaneously depleted by Lin Yi, and their shrill cries could not prevent their bodies from turning to ash. On Mei Lian's side, 2 more had fallen. And Lin Yi remained in peak condition. With 9 people participating in the siege, only 6 remained. Pu Huai and another bloodied warrior were still entangled by the stabbing soldier ants and could not break free. In other words, only 4 of them were left to besiege Lin Yi. It could be said that they had lost all advantage. Seeing this scene, all the students involved in the encirclement were somewhat afraid, pausing in place, not daring to pursue any further. Mei Lian glanced at them and said angrily, "Don't be afraid. I've already called for some reinforcements." Moreover, the 2 melee players had already closed in on Lin Yi. The reason he could survive was that we were all ranged classes. If 2 melee classes teamed up to attack him, he would undoubtedly die. Just as Mei Lian finished speaking, 3 ranged classes ran out from the classroom, looking bewildered as they rushed over here. Seeing the 3 of them, Mei Lian's eyes lit up, and she quickly used a sweet, overly charming voice to act cute, saying, "Come over quickly. Why did it take you so long to arrive?" I'm about to be bullied by Lin Yi. These 3 newcomers were all boys who were usually considered Mei Lian's pursuers. At this moment, when Mei Lian acted cute with them, they were practically melting. One of them quickly patted his chest and said, "Don't worry. We will protect you. Are we going to encircle Lin Yi now?" Mei Lian did not respond, but glanced at the classes of the 3. One was a dark hunter, one was a glory priest, and one was a Xianling mage. All ranged classes. Mei Lian ignored this and quickly turned her gaze to the corner of the playground, where Su Wanning was pitifully hiding behind Tang Junren's shield. A deep disgust appeared on her face. "Damn bitch." Mei Lian's looks weren't bad, but unfortunately she ended up in the same class as Su Wanning. As the saying goes, why was there a shining jewel when there was already a jade? Su Wanning's natural gentle aura completely overshadowed her. This made the jealous Mei Lian feel an overwhelming jealousy. Even her boyfriend at the time pursued Mei Lian only after failing to pursue Su Wanning. After knowing this, Mei Lian developed an almost fanatical jealousy and disgust towards Su Wanning, wishing for her death. This was also the reason why she conspired with Lei Jingyi to incite others to kill Su Wanning. She thought Su Wanning was just a pretender playing the victim. Thinking of this, Mei Lian gritted her teeth and shouted, "Forget about Lin Yi for now. I'll let those 2 melee characters deal with Lin Yi, and all other ranged classes come with me. Let's first kill Lin Yi's accomplices and this wicked and strange evil spirit." Mei Lian's suggestion was immediately agreed upon by the other 4, and they quickly turned their weapons towards Tang Junren and Su Wanning. Among them, the new Dark Hunter directly pulled back his bow and shot an arrow towards the unsuspecting Su Wanning. To their surprise, this guy actually had some skill. The arrow cut through the long night, precisely heading towards Su Wanning. Moreover, the direction he shot from was a spot that Tang Junren's shield could not cover. The arrow flew at incredible speed and was almost instantly in front of Su Wanning. If this arrow hit, Su Wanning would undoubtedly die. A sinister smile had already appeared on Mei Lian's face. That loathed bitch was finally going to die. But at this critical moment, a large shield suddenly blocked the arrow, keeping it from hitting its target. It was Tang Junren. It turned out that he had been keeping an eye on everyone, so he immediately noticed the movements of Mei Lian and the others. His peripheral vision was focused on the weapons in their hands, fearing that he might miss any attack. In his highly concentrated state, the suddenly appearing arrow seemed to come towards him in slow motion. Tang Junren raised his shield directly and easily blocked the arrow. This scene shocked the Dark Hunter. He had clearly launched a surprise attack with this shot, and it was so fast. How did that fat guy react to it? Seeing that perfect shot was blocked, Mei Lian was even more disappointed. All efforts wasted. She was furious and shouted at Tang Junren. "You fat guy, do you really want to tear your face apart with your classmates for this murderous demon and strange evil spirit?" Tang Junren ignored her, still maintaining his resolute demeanor. This infuriated Mei Lian even more. "Fine. Since you refuse to drink the wine offered, and only want the wine of punishment, then don't blame us for being merciless. Everyone listen to me, spread out." The others immediately understood Mei Lian's intention. Mei Lian looked at Tang Junren with a mocking gaze, sneering. "Even if you have a shield, it can only defend against one direction. If we all stand in a circle and attack you, I want to see how you dodge." Tang Junren's heart sank at her words, realizing something was off. This Mei Lian was truly vicious. Su Wanning's face turned pale, her hands trembling slightly, and ripples of fear stirred in her heart. If these 5 people attacked them simultaneously, let alone Su Wanning with only 10 health points, even Tang Junren with 215 health points would not be able to hold out for long. She did not want Tang Junren to die alongside her. "Tang Junren, you should run away quickly. Or go find. Don't stick with me, and my health is too low and I can't survive. Becoming this kind of monster is my own fate. I can't blame anyone else. Even if I die, it can't be helped. Please tell Lin that I really appreciate him." Tang Junren's somewhat chubby hands tightly gripped his shield, the handle squeezing his flesh to a red hue. He nervously glanced at the 5 people in front of him. There were a total of 5. Even if each one dealt over 10 damage, it would only take about 4 attacks for him to perish. The expressions on their faces were so fierce. Almost instinctively, Tang Junren wanted to hide in a quiet corner. He recalled the shadow of being bullied by the tyrants in his childhood. From that moment on, he realized that the corner could provide him with infinite security. Tang Junren wanted to throw away his shield, hide in the corner, and bury his head in his pants, becoming a turtle once again. However, he thought of Lin Yi's words. Tang Junren slowly shook his head. He threw away the short sword in his right hand, tightly gripped his shield with both hands, his gaze resolute as he said in a deep voice, "No, Yi Gu said to protect you well, I absolutely will not abandon you. We are partners. Trust me. Today I will not take a single step back." Tang Junren had never been trusted like this before, so he didn't want to let Lin Yi down. He certainly knew the difficulty of protecting Su Wanning. But since Lin Yi could create miracles in adversity, why couldn't he? Tang Junren? Since Lin Yi trusted him, he had to be worthy of that trust. Tang Junren's plump face was full of determination, his eyes fixed on everyone around him. At that moment, Mei Lian and her group had already taken their positions, their eyes demonically fixed on Tang Junren and Su Wanning, who stood like clowns in the center. Mei Lian noticed Tang Junren's transformation. He no longer trembled, and his eyes were no longer filled with panic and fear. Now there was light in his eyes. But Mei Lian didn't take it seriously at all. She simply couldn't believe that Tang Junren and Su Wanning could survive the combined assault of the 5 of them. Seeing Su Wanning so terrified filled Mei Lian with immense satisfaction. "Everyone, attack!" Without a moment's hesitation, Mei Lian gave the order to attack. Simultaneously, a beam of light shot from her magic wand, racing toward Tang Junren. The other 4 raised their weapons instantly. In a flash, arrows and orbs converged on Tang Junren from every direction. To an ordinary person, how could a single shield block such a barrage of attacks? Beads of sweat had already formed on Tang Junren's forehead. But, in Tang Junren's perception, all the incoming projectiles gradually slowed down. He was astonished to discover that their flight speeds were not the same. Even among the Dark Hunters of the same class, the 2 arrows flew at different speeds due to the difference in bow. Moreover, the orb from the Glory Priest was faster than the beam from the Radiant Mage. So the first to arrive was the arrow from the northeast. Tang Junren finished his calculation, immediately placed his shield in his right hand, and lifted it toward the northeast. Ding! A crisp sound rang out from the shield. But Tang Junren had no time to celebrate. He instantly shifted the shield to his left hand, blocking the second arrow from the north. Then he released the shield with his right hand, letting it fall, while his left hand hoisted it up, turning to face south. This was the Glory Priest's orb arriving. Whiz! The orb landed precisely on the shield. Though it sounds lengthy, Tang Junren blocked those 3 attacks in the blink of an eye. Su Wanning only saw a blur flash before her eyes. But the crisis wasn't over yet. The next 2 beams from the Radiant Mages arrived almost simultaneously from completely opposite directions. Even worse, both directions could strike Su Wanning. What to do? Tang Junren began to panic. Was he really going to let Lin Yi down? Just as Tang Junren was at a loss, a pair of hands suddenly lifted his shield, helping him raise it westward. At the same time, an arrow shot toward the final eastern direction. The arrow collided with one of the beams, causing it to explode prematurely. The last beam was firmly blocked by the shield. All threats neutralized. Tang Junrin froze stunned and looked up. He met Lin Yi's warm sunny smile. Well done, but sometimes don't be too stubborn. Remember, you still have me as your teammate. At that moment, the Tontian Linta fell into absolute silence. All survivors stared at the monitor before them, utterly speechless. Long Yanxiu felt like he was going crazy. Everyone was going crazy. What had they just witnessed? They, the survivors, had all been blind. Long Yanxiu slammed the armrest of his chair and shot to his feet. The chair beneath him shattered into pieces under his palm. Long Yanxiu was simply too agitated. He couldn't control the power bursting from him. He turned around, his face stern, and spoke in a low voice. What did we just say? Calling this little fatty cowardly. Clumsy. How ridiculous. We actually called that cowardice. Did you all see? Did all the fallen predecessors of Huaxia see? He truly deserves the words loyal and brave. With just one shield and a promise to his partner, he dared to face 5 attackers alone, never retreating a single step. And we called that cowardice. He could have easily escaped with over 200 HP. Fleeing would have been a breeze. Even if he is a banished knight, even with damage reduction, even with 215 HP, how many hits from those 5 could he really withstand? And those 5 had all maxed out their attributes. But he never even entertained the thought of backing down. If he's cowardly, then how many in our survivor squad can truly be called resolute? This little fatty precisely calculated the infinitesimal differences in flight speeds of each attack and wielded his shield like a dancer blocking strikes from every direction. And we damn fools actually called that clumsy. Our eyes are utterly worthless. We almost missed such a gifted talent. By now Long Yanxiu was speaking with great fervor. How long had it been since had seen someone willing to sacrifice their life for their partner? In the era of universal class transfer, killing was not forbidden, and everyone prioritized their own survival. In others' eyes, someone like Tang Junrin might seem like a fool. It was precisely because no one wanted to be that fool that Huaxia had become increasingly timid. No one dared to charge into battle, no one dared to fight courageously. Thus, what had just unfolded before them was utterly breathtaking. The impact of that scene on all Huaxia survivors, even on survivors worldwide, was unparalleled and beyond words. Suddenly Yuan spoke up, so Lin Yi already saw it. His insight surpasses all of us. Yuan's words silenced the hall once more. Correct. Yuan had reminded everyone. They had been so busy marveling at their own misjudgment and at Tang Junrin's miracle. But they had forgotten. It was Lin Yi who helped Tang Junrin make the decisive move and complete the final shield lift. It was also Lin Yi who shot an arrow like lightning to neutralize the last beam. And most of all, it was Lin Yi who firmly chose Tang Junrin as his sole teammate, when the latter had shown no special traits at all. It was all because of Lin Yi. The more fervently we mocked him, then the harder we are slapped in the face now. We have doubted Lin Yi's actions many times, but the facts have proven that we were completely wrong. Long Yanxiu opened his mouth with a hoarse voice and added a sentence. Don't forget, he must have calculated that Tang Junrin couldn't handle the last 2 beams. He might have just glanced at them while dealing with the enemy in front of him and came up with a countermeasure. This Lin Yi, we have all underestimated him. His ability is far more terrifying than we imagine. The entire Huaxiao floor fell silent. A male glory priest standing behind Long Yanxiu suddenly spoke tremblingly. Did you see that? Lin Yi's operation just now. Long Yanxiu was stunned. Just now they were all watching the operation of the plump Tang Junrin and didn't notice what Lin Yi did. They only saw Lin Yi suddenly appear beside Tang Junrin, helping him raise his shield. The glory priest swallowed his saliva, wanting to describe it, but hesitated for a long time, fidgeting without speaking. Long Yanxiu frowned with some displeasure. This male glory priest was usually a bit fussy. But normally it would be fine if there was no urgency, but now he was keeping everyone in suspense, and still didn't speak. Long Yanxiu urged, what operation? Just say it quickly. The male glory priest sighed, patted his chest, and said helplessly, I want to say it too, but I feel I can't describe his operation in that moment. How about you all just watch the replay? Now everyone wanted to beat him up immediately. Fortunately, as soon as the male glory priest finished speaking, Yuan had already brought up the replay footage and projected it onto the display. Everyone's gaze instantly turned to Lin Yi. As Mei Lian said, Lin Yi indeed had no time to pay attention to these few ranged classes. He was now playing with those 2 melee classes. One of the bloodbath warriors let out a roar and charged fiercely at Lin Yi. I will avenge my classmate. You murderer. I still have plenty of HP, but it's impossible for you to kill me. You'd better give up resistance. Lin Yi almost laughed out loud. This guy, did he really think he was something? With Lin Yi's current speed, even if the bloodbath warrior had movement speed boosts, he couldn't catch up to him at all. But at this moment Lin Yi had noticed the situation on Tang Junrin's side. Those shameless Mei Lian and her group had actually started to surround Tang Junrin and Su Wanning. Lin Yi's expression turned cold. He had no time to waste with these 2 melee classes. He must finish quickly. Lin Yi deliberately slowed his speed, and in the blink of an eye the bloodbath warrior behind him had already rushed to his front. The bloodbath warrior had no idea what awaited him. Die. He raised his steel blade abruptly, and what he didn't expect was that just as he raised his blade to strike Lin, he actually stopped and rushed toward the space. Seeing this, the bloodbath warrior curled his lips into a sinister grin and let out a fierce roar, indeed, asking for death. How could he give up such a good opportunity? He quickly turned his steel blade to follow the moving Lin Yi. Seeing Lin Yi rush over the shadow assassin beside him was overjoyed. Wasn't this suicide? This Lin Yi actually dared to come so close. The two of them were about to crash into each other face to face. Wasn't this the attack distance the shadow assassin dreamed of? His attack power was extremely high, though if he got close he could probably kill Lin Yi in 3 or 4 seconds. And Lin Yi, a ranged Dark Hunter, had almost no ability to fight back in close quarters. He could only— With that thought, the shadow assassin excitedly swung his dagger and stabbed at Lin Yi. At this moment a smile suddenly crept onto Lin Yi's lips. He used the shadow assassin's forward charge speed and inertia to quickly close the distance. Just as they were about to collide, Lin Yi stepped forward with his right foot. Then using his right foot as a pivot, Lin Yi dodged the shadow assassin's thrust, pressing his body tightly against the assassin's, and swiftly pivoted. Students who love playing basketball are probably familiar with this move. Now Lin Yi had used this pivot move in such a thrilling confrontation. Pivoting while clinging to the shadow assassin, Lin Yi sharply raised his elbow and slammed it into the assassin's back. This elbow strike caught the shadow assassin completely off guard. Although this elbow strike couldn't cause damage, the momentum of the impact still existed. The shadow assassin's body uncontrollably lunged forward, and in his panic he raised his dagger. When the bloodbath warrior saw the shadow assassin rushing toward his long blade, it was already too late. 19. A crimson number floated above the shadow assassin's head. It directly deducted 1/5. At the same time, the shadow assassin's dagger stabbed into the bloodbath warrior's chest. 20. Another terrifying number, glaringly stimulating the bloodbath warrior's eyes. Lin Yi not only escaped the pincer attack of the two, but also made them kill each other. This move. Incredible. Inside the heavenly tower, Long Yangxiu felt he had become numb. The others in the heavenly tower also started chattering excitedly. I can only say, they must enable friendly fire immunity. A bunch of rookies, how would they know anything about teaming up? You're overestimating them. Just a passerby, but am I watching a rookie's livestream replay? Am I really not watching a highlight reel of a master? Suddenly, a flash of inspiration struck Long Yangxiu. He slapped his head and quickly said, wait. That's right. Why don't we activate the highlight reel in advance? Highlight reel. All the other Huaxia survivors were taken aback. This was a function in the ranking list of the Heavenly Tower system interface. When a player's operation was selected, all players in the server could view and learn from the master player's moves. Yuan slightly frowned. Activate in advance. That costs 10 points. Is it worth it? Long Yangxiu, excited by his own idea, quickly explained to everyone the normal activation time for the highlight reel function is after the first instance. If we activate it in advance, Lin Yi's chance of getting rewards will be higher, allowing him to become stronger and increase his survival probability. As long as Lin Yi can survive through 44 Cataclysm instances, the improvement for us will definitely be worth more than 10 points. Moreover, Lin Yi just earned 100 points for Huaxia. We're just giving back a portion. Long Yangxiu's words fell, and everyone fell into silence. What Captain Long had just said seemed very correct. Although points were precious, talent was even more precious. Furthermore, without Lin Yi, China would never have obtained such a huge sum of 100 points. And if Lin Yi's maneuver were to be selected, it would undoubtedly be extremely beneficial for him. Yuan furrowed her brow, pondered for a moment, and finally nodded slowly. None of the other survivor team members raised any objections. Without any hesitation, Long Yangxiu directly activated the highlight reel function ahead of time. Then he had Yuan edit all of Lin Yi and Tang Junren's recent maneuvers and upload them to the highlight reel. Although the Chinese survivors could decide when to activate the highlight reel function, they did not have the right to determine whether a maneuver would be selected by the highlight reel. Only the Heavenly Tower could judge. Long Yangxiu and the others could only wait for the result announcement. Unlike the excitement of the Chinese survivors within the Heavenly Tower, the Bloodbath Warrior's eyes widened in shock as he saw the health points floating above his head. FCK, are you crazy? Why did you stab me? I didn't mean to hit you. You have to understand, this wasn't just health points. It represented a person's life. How could the Bloodbath Warrior not be anxious? The Shadow Assassin was already furious at being toyed with by Lin Yi, and now the Bloodbath Warrior was blaming him without any justification, which nearly made him explode with anger. But fortunately, he was still a rational person. Suppressing the rage in his heart, he quickly scrambled up from the ground and hurriedly said to the Bloodbath Warrior, I didn't mean to. Let's deal with this Lin Yi first. He's just too bizarre. The Bloodbath Warrior also snapped to his senses and immediately began searching for Lin Yi's figure. At that moment Lin Yi knocked an arrow, drew the bowstring, and shot another arrow at the shadow assassin, who had just gotten to his feet. The shadow assassin still held his dagger in front of him. Just as he was about to turn, the tremendous impact pushed his body forward again, causing him to lurch. The dagger held in front of his chest once again stabbed toward the unsuspecting bloodbath warrior. A crimson number, 21, floated above the bloodbath warrior's head once more. The bloodbath warrior was truly going mad. With those two stabs from the shadow assassin, his health had instantly drained to the bottom. The fear of death instantly enveloped his entire body. He raised his head, trembling all over as he looked at Lin Yi not far away. His lips parted slightly, just about to beg for mercy. Lin Yi naturally gave him no such chance. A single arrow directly claimed the bloodbath warrior's life. No hesitation, because hesitation was not allowed. No mercy, because mercy was unnecessary. In his past life, through 100 battles, he had been backstabbed and betrayed more than once. He had long honed his character. Anyone who showed hostility toward him would be slain on the spot without exception. The remaining shadow assassin still had some health, but Lin Yi had no time to bother with him. He quickly drew his bow and shot an arrow, instantly killing the shadow assassin, whose health was already low. Then without looking back, he ran toward Tang Junren and Su Wanning. Then what everyone already knew happened. The recording ended. Silence fell within the heavenly tower. If not for that male glorious cleric, they might have truly missed this shocking spectacle. Long Yangqiu let out a sigh. In that split second, could you have done all that? Or would you have dared to do it? Let me be the first to say, I wouldn't have dared. The longer I've survived in the heavenly tower, the more afraid I am of death. Even in the later stages of 44 catastrophe dungeons, I only dared to rely on my own raw strength to bulldoze through, not taking a single risk. While we over-pursue stability and coordination, it seems we have also lost this fighting spirit. This is one of the reasons we are not as strong as countries like Grey Bear Kingdom and Lighthouse Kingdom. Perhaps this newcomer Lin Yi actually has something we can learn from. The other survivors nodded slightly, each lost in thought. Suddenly a prompt appeared from the heavenly tower. The review of the 4 video clips had ended. Almost at the same time, a mechanical electronic voice suddenly rang out within the heavenly tower. Not only in the heavenly tower, but also beside Lin Yi and the others, the mechanical voice of the heavenly tower sounded. China Youth Server has now activated the highlight reel function. Congratulations to Dark Hunter Lin Yi for having a total of 3 maneuvers selected into the server-wide highlight reel. Ratings BAA. Congratulations to Exile Knight Tang Junren for having 1 maneuver selected into the server-wide highlight reel. Rating B. All players can view it by entering System Rankings highlight reel interface. Tang Junren blinked in bewilderment, not knowing what had happened. Lin Yi, however, frowned in surprise. What was going on? He distinctly remembered that this function was supposed to be activated only after entering the first public catastrophe dungeon. Why was it activated early now? It was different from his past life. Lin Yi inexplicably thought of that Chinese survivor Captain Long Yangqiu. Could someone be manipulating things? Could there really be people he didn't know about? Lin Yi's gaze involuntarily turned toward the Heavenly Spirit Tower. If there really were survivors, then the Heavenly Spirit Tower was the most likely place for them to hide. But such matters were still too distant for Lin Yi. He pulled himself together. As for having 3 of his maneuvers selected, Lin Yi was naturally overjoyed. Because Lin Yi clearly knew that once a maneuver was selected for the highlight reel, there were rewards to claim. This would greatly aid his goal of achieving the first place dungeon evaluation in the early stages. However, Lin Yi had no time to check right now. He still had people to kill. Mei Lian clearly hadn't expected Lin Yi to dispatch those 2 melee classes so quickly. Now seeing Lin Yi still at full health, she was finally afraid. But she didn't show it. Instead, she screamed again, quick. Let's all attack together and kill him. The 3 newcomers hadn't yet witnessed Lin Yi's prowess. Believing that the 3 of them could easily kill him, they immediately launched an attack with full confidence. Lin Yi's eyes turned cold. He easily dodged the waves of attacks and raised his hand to shoot an arrow into the crowd. This arrow Lin Yi aimed directly at that Dark Hunter. This guy was called Li Lei. He usually played with bows and had gone hunting with his father a few times, so his archery skills were decent. He was considered the most accurate shooter in the class. Unfortunately, he was still far behind compared to Lin Yi. The arrow flew straight toward Li Lei. To Lin Yi's surprise, this arrow triggered the black mark effect again. This was the second arrow tonight. Li Lei's eyes narrowed as he judged the trajectory of the arrow. Suddenly he sneered, "Ha, missed. Idiot." Indeed, in his eyes, Lin Yi's arrow was severely off target, absolutely incapable of hitting him. He trusted his own judgment. Thus Li Lei even stood still on the spot, unmoving. Lin Yi sneered, truly devoid of memory. The next moment, the arrow that had seemed so misaligned arced through the air, grazing Li Lei's back and inflicting damage before veering straight toward the Xianling mage beside him. Another curved arrow. Once again, a single shot took 2 targets and directly stacked 2 layers of black mark. Li Lei had clearly forgotten Lin Yi's ability to shoot such unnatural arrows, and terror seized his heart. Lin Yi's damage was immense. 30 points from a single arrow. Wait. What was this black mist on his body? Before he could react, Lin Yi fired another arrow again, hitting 2 birds with 1 stone. At this point, Lin Yi ceased to concern himself with the pair. 2 arrows dealt 60 health points, and 1 layer of black mark accounted for 40, enough to drain their health entirely. Lin Yi turned his gaze toward Mei Lian and the others. In that moment, Mei Lian finally understood they could never defeat this demon. No matter how many they were, they would only be slaughtered. Mei Lian gritted her teeth fiercely, suddenly shoved the 2 people before her forward, and then bolted away without a backward glance. Even Lin Yi was stunned by the sight. Damn, ruthless. Pushing others forward as shields. This woman. Quite something. But Lin Yi was in no hurry. He would kill them one by one. The 2 shoved forward by Mei Lian could never have imagined that their most trusted comrade would betray them from behind. By the time they realized they should flee, it was too late. Lin Yi followed them, shooting arrows as he walked, and soon both dissolved into dissipating smoke. Meanwhile, Li Lei, already marked by the black mark and awaiting death, could only watch helplessly as his health dwindled, utterly powerless. Lin Yi, I know I was wrong. Please don't kill me. Don't kill me. I beg you. Li Lei was truly panicked. He tossed his longbow aside, fell to his knees with a thud, and began kowtowing to Lin Yi. Lin Yi said with some bemusement, You people, if only you had realized this from the start, why bother? You can only blame your poor judgment falling for a woman like Mei Lian. See, she abandoned you all, didn't she? Unfortunately, I can't save you. Take my advice, buddy. Don't be a simp in your next life. And if you must simp, at least pick someone decent. With that, Lin Yi ignored them and turned his attention toward Pu Huai. All ranged classes were dead. Only Mei Lian had fled quickly, already out of sight. But that was fine. After returning to the classroom, Lin Yi would kill her too. Now only Pu Huai and the bloodthirsty warrior remained. When Pu Huai saw everyone else picked off by Lin Yi one by one, his heart was already filled with despair. At this moment, Lin Yi was already level 4, and Pu Huai had no capital to fight him. Moreover, Pu Huai's health was not at its peak. He looked at the bloodthirsty warrior Old Zhang, who was already critically wounded from tanking the spike soldier ant, and then at the spike soldier ant with low health remaining. A ruthless resolve surged in Pu Huai's heart. Suddenly standing behind Old Zhang, he murmured, Old Zhang, I'm sorry. To turn this around, there's only one chance left. Old Zhang, farewell. Old Zhang looked back at Pu Huai with confusion and dread, already guessing what Pu Huai intended. No, but it was too late. Pu Huai raised his dagger and struck Old Zhang, whose already meager health was instantly drained to 0. The next moment, Pu Huai slashed at the spike soldier ant. A cold gleam flashed, and after a brief convulsion, the ant dissolved into smoke. 2 beams of golden light washed over Pu Huai. He reached level 3. To his surprise, a green glow indicated that a piece of equipment had dropped before him. A garment. Who would have thought this insignificant mob would drop gear? Pu Huai stood frozen for a moment, then burst into wild laughter. Ha ha ha. Heaven hasn't abandoned me. Lin Yi, I am not fated to die. The one who dies is you. Pu Huai hurriedly picked up the short robe dropped by the spike soldier ant and examined its data panel. Common short robe, level 1 quality, fine health 50. Pu Huai's eyes lit up instantly. This robe added a full 50 health points. That was substantial. Even Lin Yi, watching from a distance, felt a twinge of admiration. The kids certainly had luck. After killing 2 spike soldier ants himself, Lin Yi hadn't seen any equipment drop, yet Pu Huai got one after killing just a single ant. What's more, he had even slain his own companion just to monopolize the experience. Lin Yi mused, You and Mei Lian are a perfect match. Both ruthless. In this era of universal class transfer, a place where you thrive might indeed suit you. If you hadn't provoked me, perhaps you could have carved out your own domain. Pu Huai quickly equipped the robe and sneered at Lin Yi. Stop bluffing. You're about to die, and you're still. Now I'm level 3. With this armor, I will surely kill you. You have no advantage in health. My attack power far surpasses yours, and am an assassin class that counters you. What have you got to fight me with? By now, Pu Huai had allocated all attribute points to strength. With 3 levels granting 6 free attribute points plus 3 from level ups, he had 9 points total, all poured into strength. With his novice dagger adding 5 attack power, his total attack now reached a staggering 50. Pu Huai had chosen the extreme path. The drawback of this path was obvious. His health was very low. For instance, at level 4, Lin Yi, without counting title bonuses, had added 1 constitution point per level, giving him 285 health, whereas Pu Huai had only 170 health, a gap of more than 100 points. Now with his equipment, Pu Huai had closed the gap slightly. Lin Yi chuckled, cradling his bow, standing still watching Pu Huai with keen interest. I don't know where you get your confidence. If I were you, I wouldn't be standing among those monsters right now. Pu Huai shuddered at the words and quickly looked behind him. Fortunately, his current position hadn't aggroed any spike soldier ants. Somewhat humiliated, Pu Huai turned back to Lin Yi, but a mocking smile spread across his face. Lin Yi, you didn't think I was just chatting with you, did you? Fool. I've been stalling for time. You've never played an online game, so you probably don't know about combat states, do you? I had just finished fighting the spike soldier ant, and was still in combat, so I couldn't go invisible. But now thanks to you buying me time. Ha! Farewell. With that, Pu Huai's figure vanished directly from the spot. This startled Tang Junren and Su Wanning, who were at a distance. Tang Junren anxiously shouted, "Brother E, quickly come hide with me. This guy can actually become invisible." Lin Yi smiled and did not move, but instead turned to Tang Junren and Su Wanning, saying, "Watch closely, I will teach you how to find an invisible shadow assassin in this lesson." The shadow assassin's passive skill is merely invisibility. It does not mean they completely disappear. Pu Huai, I just mentioned that this skill is not invincible. For example, in the next second you will run to here. With that, Lin Yi raised his hand and shot an arrow. However, the arrow did not hit, it landed on the ground. Tang Junren and Su Wanning were somewhat confused. However, Pu Huai in his invisible state was nearly scared to death. The arrow landed right in front of him. If it hadn't been for the arrow falling, he would have been standing there a second later. Cold sweat dripped down Pu Huai's back. Impossible. It must be fake. He must be tricking me. Pu Huai murmured, moving again, trying to circle around. At that moment, Lin Yi's calm voice echoed again. "Oh, changed places." With that, another arrow was shot, still landing in front of Pu Huai. Pu Huai finally confirmed that Lin Yi could discover his invisible position. Right now, Lin Yi was completely toying with him. This is impossible. Pu Huai's mentality broke down. He had just leveled up to level 3 and picked up an ordinary short shirt dropped by a small monster. He could not believe he would lose. He pushed his speed to the limit and charged towards Lin Yi. Lin Yi grinned. "Are you anxious? Forget it, I'm done playing with you. Oh, I still have to take them to level up." With that, he raised his hand and shot an arrow into the empty void. The next moment, Pu Huai's figure materialized. "I will kill you." Pu Huai did not care about the decrease in his health, desperately charging towards Lin Yi. Lin Yi, on the other hand, leisurely knocked an arrow, drew the string, and shot, all in one fluid motion. Every arrow found its mark. Not a single one missed. 1 arrow, 2 arrows, 3 arrows. Pu Huai finally reached Lin Yi. Pu Huai's eyes were fierce as he suddenly raised his arm, the dagger slicing through the night sky towards Lin Yi's neck. Lin Yi smiled and lightly sidestepped, effortlessly dodging Pu Huai's strike. The neck is too small a target, it's too easy to dodge. "This is not a good choice," Lin Yi said, taking advantage of Pu Huai's moment of pulling back the dagger to instantly knock an arrow and shoot. Pu Huai, furious, shouted, "Shut up." This time Pu Huai lunged at Lin Yi's body. In his view, this strike was unavoidable. However, what he did not expect was that this time Lin Yi did not dodge, but instead kicked forward with all his might towards Pu Huai. Pu Huai's knife could not match Lin Yi's leg length. Before Pu Huai could strike Lin Yi, he was kicked away, landing on the ground in a humiliating manner, mud caking his face, looking utterly pitiful. Usually Pu Huai was considered a dashing young man in class, but at this moment he was in such a disgraceful state. However, none of the three present felt any pity. Lin Yi did not need to say anything. Whether in his previous life or this life, Pu Huai had continuously plotted to kill him, harboring a deep-seated hatred that was almost irrational and fanatical. Su Wanning felt no compassion either. It was precisely this Pu Huai who had caused her to be scrutinized with disdain for years. If it weren't for her strong will, she might have already been unable to bear it. Tang Junren had no profound thoughts. He simply thought that whoever targeted Brother Yi was the villain, and they deserved to die. Pu Huai awkwardly got up from the ground, seeing Lin Yi leisurely creating distance again. At this moment, Pu Huai realized his health was under 100 points. A terrifying black mist was still swirling around him, continuously draining his health. At this point, Pu Huai finally panicked, feeling he was going to die. He threw away the dagger in his hand, looking at Lin Yi in the distance with a face full of despair. "Lin Yi, I was wrong. I let hatred blind my eyes. I should not have targeted you. And even less should I have targeted Su Wanning." Lin Yi revealed a sarcastic smile. "Jealousy." Pu Huai nodded vigorously. "Yes, at that time your math grades were excellent, and you achieved scores I couldn't even dream of without any effort. So I." Lin Yi's expression grew even more sinister. "So you fabricated such lies, making Su Wanning live in accusations and insults throughout middle school." Su Wanning, not far away, clearly heard the conversation between the two and involuntarily recalled the events of that year, a hint of fear flashing in her eyes. Those days were extremely tough for her. Pu Huai knelt on the ground, constantly bowing to Lin Yi and apologizing, his face covered in tears, sobbing continuously, nowhere near the arrogance he had just displayed. "I truly know I was wrong. It's all my fault," he pleaded. "Can you forgive me, Yi? I am your best friend." Lin Yi suddenly smiled. The moment Pu Huai saw Lin Yi smile, he thought Lin Yi had truly chosen. Just as Pu Huai was about to stand up, he saw Lin Yi smiling broadly and nodding at him, saying, "No. Goodbye." With that, Lin Yi released his fingers, and a pitch-black arrow shot towards Pu Huai. 30. The crimson number floated above Pu Huai's head. Pu Huai looked at the arrow embedded in his chest, his eyes filled with disbelief. The next moment fury surged through Pu Huai's chest. "You tricked me," he shouted. "I've already apologized, what more do you want from me?" Lin did not stop shooting. He quickly nocked another arrow and shot at Pu Huai again. Each arrow was even faster than the last. Lin Yi's smile gradually faded, replaced by a fierce expression. "Apology? What use is that light-hearted apology? After others suffer misunderstanding and attacks due to your thoughtless joke, do you think your apology means anything? Save your ridiculous apologies for the King of Hell." Finally, the last arrow flew through the air, and Pu Huai's body transformed into dust, carrying away the sins he had committed, completely vanishing in this era of universal class change. Lin Yi set down his bow and arrow, looking back at Tang Junren and Su Wanning not far behind, smiling gently. "It's all over. We are temporarily safe." Upon hearing this, Tang Junren's grip on the shield finally relaxed. His hands, which had been overly strained, trembled uncontrollably. The heavy shield clattered to the ground, just like the stone that had been hanging in the hearts of the three, finally dropping to the ground. Tang Junren sat on the ground, panting heavily, wiping away the sweat that had been pouring down. "Brother Yi, I completed the task you assigned. I protected classmate Su." Su Wanning, beside Tang Junren, was already in tears. She felt she had just gone through too much. It felt as if she had been skimming the edge of life and death, repeatedly witnessing the darkest sides of humanity and the bloodiest killings. This overwhelmed her. She didn't know how many times she had nearly cried out in shock. Even though she only understood the era of universal class change a little, she could still see how perilous Lin Yi's survival had been. She truly believed Lin Yi was doomed more than once. But fortunately, Lin Yi had still survived tenaciously. Lin Yi approached softly, comforting the two. This kind of situation he had indeed experienced many times in his previous life, so he felt little. However, Tang Junren and Su Wanning had just changed classes and were suddenly dragged into this whirlpool, making it difficult for them to accept at once. After comforting them for a moment, Lin Yi shouldered his longbow again and walked towards the piercing soldier ants. He still needed to continue leveling up. Such calmness and tirelessness in his heart instilled a sense of dread in everyone at the Tower of Heaven. Lin Yi almost instantly threw himself back into battle. Was he a tireless machine? At this moment, within the Tower of Heaven, all floors, regardless of the country, were brightly lit. Laid out on everyone's tables was the dossier of a single person, Lin Yi. From this moment on, his name would echo throughout the Tower of Heaven. All of his actions tonight were being made into continuous animations for study. Everything he did was under the watchful eyes of the Tower of Heaven. His subsequent performance in the Instance Dungeon also made the entire Tower of Heaven eager with anticipation. Everyone was speculating what kind of shocking actions this genius youth from Huaxia could produce. Lin Yi was naturally unaware of all this. At that moment, his focus was solely on the swarm soldier ants in front of him. With the level 4 data enhancement, killing monsters became even easier for Lin Yi. He only needed to be wary of the occasional skills the swarm soldier ants would unleash. With the help of the invincible evasion technique, the normal attacks of the swarm soldier ants hardly touched Lin Yi's sleeves. Before long, Lin Yi had slain about 10 swarm soldier ants, and the experience gained finally allowed all 3 of them to level up to level 5. Just as they leveled up, the mechanical voice of the system echoed in their minds. "Your current level has reached the limit. You can unlock subsequent levels after completing the first disaster instance." Lin Yi was not surprised by this prompt. He had seen it in forums during his past life. Not only level 5, but there were also level 10 and level 20 limits which Lin Yi had encountered in his previous life. Since he had already reached the limit, his goal for tonight was also accomplished. Lin Yi directly stowed away his longbow and prepared to return to the classroom with Tang Junren and Su Wanning. None of them could leave the school, they were bound to it. So they could only spend the night in the classroom. Tomorrow, after the Instance Dungeon ended, according to Lin Yi's experiences from his past life, the Tower of Heaven would open a new safe zone. At that time, Lin Yi and the others could search for a new stronghold. On the way back to the classroom, Lin Yi began to check his current data. At this moment, compared to when he was level 1, Lin Yi's stats had undergone a tremendous transformation. Lin Yi, wearing the first blood title, level 5 health, 374 attack power, 38, including weapon 5, magic power, 28 mana, 165 agility, 30 luck 5, all these stats were enhanced through titles. With the increase in health, Lin Yi's passive skill also improved. Black Mark: the arrows of the Dark Hunter have a chance to inflict a dark corrosion effect, dealing 8 damage per second to enemy units for 10 seconds. Do not underestimate this seemingly small damage of 8. Over 10 seconds, that totals to 80. At least now, if Lin Yi were to encounter a level 1 enemy siege, as long as this passive skill triggered once the level 1 enemy would be doomed. Lin Yi had calculated in his past life that the luck attribute points needed to reach at least 10 to show significant effects. Therefore, he was not in a hurry. Besides these numerical improvements, Lin Yi's greatest enhancement was unlocking his first active skill, Level 5 skill Dark Envelop mana cost 10 points, cooldown 30 seconds. The next arrow of the Dark Hunter will turn into a cloud of darkness enveloping the first enemy hit and dealing 120 of attack power as physical damage with a 100 chance to apply a 15 slow effect and a certain chance to apply a 30 slow effect lasting 5 seconds. This was exactly what Lenny desired. With this skill, the Dark Hunter could truly master the art of kite fighting. The so-called kite fighting is a common term in online games. It refers to the method where ranged attack players use control techniques like slowing or stunning to create a speed difference during enemy pursuits, inflicting damage while ensuring their own safety. If Lin Yi were to encounter the same situation where Pu Huai chased after him even without using the swarm soldier ants to create distance, he could turn the tables and defeat Pu Huai. Lin Yi was most adept at calculations like these. Not only did Lin Yi improve, but Tang Junren's stats also surged. At this moment, Tang Junren's health had also reached a terrifying 440 points. This was naturally due to Tang Junren's extreme physique enhancements. However, Su Wanning had not seen any improvements. Her level had risen to 5, but her health remained at 10 points. There was nothing to be done about it. Before successfully changing classes, while levels could increase normally, Su Wanning could not gain even a hint of enhancement. She remained someone who had to be protected within the team. Lin Yi noticed that Su Wanning's delicate face seemed a bit forlorn. Thus he patted her shoulder and gently said, "Don't worry, both Tang and I will protect you well." Su Wanning nodded gently, suddenly recalling Lin Yi's conversation with Pu Huai just moments ago. It was only today that she realized that her classmate from elementary, middle, and high school had been silently harboring feelings for her. But did he know that she had always had feelings for him as well? Since middle school, Su Wanning could feel the strange gazes of others upon her. Yet Lin Yi was different. His gaze toward her was always clear and natural. Perhaps this was one of the reasons why Su Wanning had feelings for Lin Yi. Suddenly, she recalled something that had been buried deep in her heart. Su Wanning vividly remembered that during that time on the forum, when everyone was criticizing her, there was one account that fervently spoke in her defense. Later, that account even spent a large sum to buy the administrator rights of the school's forum, deleting all posts regarding the rumors about her and banning all accounts spreading those rumors. There was even a night when at 2 in the morning, as Su Wanning cried, while looking at the forum, that account was still busy banning users. It could be said that those nights were spent with that account accompanying her through the internet. She had always tried to contact that account, but never received a reply. The account was named Y. Interestingly, the first letter of Lin Yi's name was also Y. Su Wanning felt her heart skip a beat. She looked up at Lin Yi, who was protecting her at that moment, just like that account had silently protected her back then. Could it be him? Su Wanning's heart was suddenly in turmoil. Suddenly, a mechanical electronic voice echoed in everyone's minds on the server once again. Congratulations to the Dark Hunter Lin Yi for being selected for the server's highlight reel. Rating S. Congratulations on the first S-rated operation being born in the server. All players bow in reverence. The Tower of Heaven will reward the first player Lin Yi who demonstrates S-level operations. Congratulations to the Dark Hunter for successfully obtaining the weapon Epic Bow of Eternal Night's Destruction. Bow of Eternal Night's Destruction. Quality Epic. Usable level 10. Attack power 2025. Skill 1 Arrow of Dawn. The user's arrows have a chance to transform into the Arrow of Dawn. Effective Arrow of Dawn guarantees an additional black mark effect instantly detonating. Bonus Infinite Quiver. After a moment of confusion, everyone burst into excitement. In the highlight reel interface, the comments under Lin Yi's latest video almost instantly surpassed 999. Although players were still unaware of the value of this level rating, they understood the worth of this weapon. Countless players were drooling over the weapon's data. After seeing others' weapons, they looked at their own novice weapons. It was like comparing trash. Right below Lin Yi's new video, players immediately began to discuss. Who is Lin Yi? Who the hell is Lin Yi? He can't be a beta tester, right? How can he be this awesome? Dude, don't be ridiculous, beta tester my ass. In fact, in a certain sense, Lin Yi was indeed a special kind of beta tester. This weapon is in such high attack power. If you don't understand, just ask, what does this epic mean? Don't know what epic means? There's an introduction on the forum. Epic is the weapon's grade standard. In the era of universal job changes, the levels are divided into 5 grades: normal, fine, epic, legendary, and supreme. Currently, everyone's weapons are at the normal level, while this epic weapon is simply too tempting. I have a master's degree, so after careful research and judgment, this weapon is definitely a huge boost for the currently somewhat weak Dark Hunter, directly compensating for the lack of explosive damage. This Lin Yi is probably the strongest Dark Hunter in the entire server now. A friend asked me to find out if he can kill and loot. Dude, it's obvious you didn't watch Lin Yi's video closely, right? This is definitely a master. If you dare to attack him, how many lives do you have? This comment almost instantly received tens of thousands of likes. Many people then realized and quickly opened the video above. In the next moment, they felt as if they had been transported to a virtual battlefield where everything seemed so realistic. Many were startled by this sudden scene. The scene Lin Yi was in was also restored to the maximum extent by the Tower of Heaven. Viewers of the video felt as if they were a teammate right behind Lin Yi, closely admiring his maneuvers. This maximized the immersive feel of the video. Soon after, everyone saw the protagonist of this video. At this moment, Lin Yi held a longbow, his expression calm, exuding an air of a master. Opposite Lin Yi stood a shadowy figure brandishing a dagger. Behind the figure, several huge ants were scuttling about. What the hell? What are these giant ants? Where did he encounter them? If it were me, I'd probably faint on the spot. What is this dark figure? In the video, the Tower of Heaven had blacked out the villain's figure, as if to protect the villain's privacy. In the next moment, the villain's figure suddenly turned semi-transparent, and the audience instantly realized this was the shadow assassin entering stealth mode. Oh my god, a fragile archer against a hidden assassin. We're done. However, Lin Yi's subsequent actions perfectly slapped the comments back. Lin Yi accurately predicted the path of the shadow assassin after it went invisible, as if he was using a hack, shocking all the viewers. Whoa, how did he do that? He can see through invisibility. Report him. He's cheating. I bet there's some hidden detail that reveals the invisible player's position. But you have to admit his eyesight is incredible. Like a demon descending from heaven, a god of calamity on earth. This Lin Yi, badass. In an instant, those two words flooded the bullet comments. Everyone's vision was filled with those two words. No one had expected such a play to exist. When Lin Yi kicked the shadow assassin that had closed in on him, the bullet comments erupted in laughter. What a precise arrow. What long legs. But sadly, everyone was momentarily at a loss for words. Faced with such a jaw-dropping maneuver, all they could blurt out was those two words, badass. Lin Yi's name and his masterful moves were deeply etched into the minds of these spectators. The Dark Hunters, who had been disheartened by their seemingly weak class, instantly found their pillar of strength and were filled with renewed confidence. They wanted to be just like Lin Yi. The videos like count kept climbing, breaking 100 in just a few, and the momentum showed no sign of stopping. The previous three moves of Lin Yi were being analyzed repeatedly, his calm thinking and effortless positioning instantly winning him a horde of devoted fans. Although Tang Junren's moves were equally brilliant and unbelievable, they lacked the visual appeal of Lin Yi's actions. Countless people were mesmerized watching Lin Yi face the giant beast, stepping forward with supreme confidence and ease. Countless were amazed by Lin Yi's agile rolls and uncanny direction changes. Even more were stunned by his spin and elbow strike that toyed with the shadow assassin and the bloodthirsty hunter. At that moment, Lin Yi earned a new title, a title given by everyone who witnessed his performance: the Eternal Night Arrow God. Lin Yi, unaware of the new nickname the forum players had given him, was returning to the classroom with Su Wanning and Tang Junren. A creak. The wooden door was pushed open. Inside the classroom, everyone's eyes instantly turned toward the door. Who was back? The students had just seen Pu Huai, Mei Lian, and their group leave. They guessed they had gone to get revenge on Lin Yi. Whoever returned now would reveal the outcome. The wooden door opened slowly, and the fluorescent light quietly illuminated the newcomer. A calm face appeared before everyone, a stark contrast to the nervous crowd inside the room. It was Lin Yi. A chill ran through every student's heart. Could it be that Pu Huai and the others? Lin Yi glanced around the classroom, a hint of surprise in his eyes. Oh, Mei Lian hasn't come back. I was planning to kill her too. Oh well, let her go for now. Lin Yi muttered to himself casually. But those words sent a shiver down the entire class spine. Kill her too. What did that mean? Were the others already dead? One of the bolder students asked with a trembling voice. Lin Yi, where are they? Lin Yi raised an eyebrow. Them? You mean Pu Huai and his group? They went to see Lei Jingyi. He smiled, rubbing his hands together. They're all such good classmates. They missed Lei Jingyi so much that I gave them a hand and sent them all over. If you miss Lei Jingyi too, I can help you as well. The class shuddered, stepping back, collectively afraid to meet Lin Yi's terrifying smile. Damn it, who would miss Lei Jingyi? That meant death. For some reason at this moment, the students suddenly felt that Lin Yi had changed. He was no longer the frail, scrawny bookworm they used to know, the one who spent all day studying incomprehensible numbers and formulas. Now Lin Yi truly resembled an arrow god walking through the eternal night. In fact, Lin Yi hadn't changed. What had changed was their attitude toward him. From contempt to fear. Lin Yi smiled and ignored them. With over a dozen lives already on his hands, his intimidation kept the entire class from daring to approach him. Lin Yi and Tang Junren flanked Su Wanning as they entered the classroom and found a corner. Since the school had no dormitories, Tang Junren arranged a makeshift bed by pushing desks together. It was large enough for 3 people to lie on. In truth, given the upheaval, Tang Junren and Su Wanning felt they could never fall asleep. But Lin Yi insisted they get adequate rest. The next day's dungeon must not be taken lightly, or they would die a miserable death. Everyone watched Lin Yi's group with trepidation. Finally, a girl named Yi Ming, who thought she had a decent relationship with Lin Yi, grit her teeth. She first adjusted her uniform, pulling it tight to emphasize her attractive figure, then put on a sweet smile and moved toward Lin Yi. Lin Yi was sitting on a desk, alert to everything around him. Su Wanning leaned against the two walls of the corner, reducing the directions from which she could be attacked, making it safer. Lin Yi naturally noticed Yi Ming's approach. He immediately gripped his longbow and stared at her warily. I'd like to team up with you. What do you think? Yi Ming spoke while constantly twisting her body, her smile as sweet as if she had eaten an entire bag of candy. You shouldn't. It's best if you keep your distance from me, or I might accidentally harm you. Yi Ming did not expect her proactive approach to be decisively rejected by Lin Yi, leaving her feeling somewhat embarrassed. She thought perhaps her figure wasn't prominent enough, so she quickly tightened her school uniform, putting on a weak demeanor as she said, "What will I do as a girl in that kind of instance? Please protect me, okay? You're so strong. I assure you I will offer you something in return." Yi Ming continued, "And our relationship was quite good before, right? You even helped me with math problems." At this point her insinuations were quite evident. This scene made the other boys nearby unable to resist swallowing their saliva, their faces filled with envy. However, Yi Ming did not expect that Lin Yi not only remained unmoved, but even expressed more disgust, coldly stating, "No need. If you come any closer I will take action. I won't tolerate any of you from now on. As for you, good luck in tomorrow's instance. I can't help you." Regarding our so-called good relationship, if I remember correctly, after I helped you, you claimed I was just pretending to understand because the formulas I used were beyond your grasp. And just now you were one of the people furious enough to want to kill me. Lin Yi continued, his cold gaze sweeping over Yi Ming's guilty expression. "Do you call that a good relationship?" Lin Yi added. "Furthermore, let me clarify that in this era of universal job changes you have no one to rely on but yourself. Now even the beauty you pride yourself on will be worth nothing." His words struck Yi Ming's face with a flush of embarrassment. As her lies were exposed, Yi Ming became furious. But suddenly recalling Lin Yi's strength, she could only suppress her anger and huff before turning to leave. Lin Yi surveyed everyone with a detached gaze and softly warned, "I advise all of you not to come within 3 meters of me, otherwise I might misinterpret your intentions. There's no need to express goodwill, seek help, or apologize. You just take care of yourselves. Consider me just a stranger you've crossed paths with. If you don't provoke me, I naturally won't bother you. Unless, of course, you want to invoke Leijing." Lin Yi's cold words provoked a number of low curses from the crowd. They thought he was too heartless. To these accusations, Lin Yi paid them no mind. He couldn't be bothered to argue with these simpletons. After today, it was highly likely they would never meet again. In his thoughts, Lin Yi had already opened the forum interface in the system. The overwhelming number of likes and comments instantly stunned Lin Yi. "Congratulations. Your amazing performance has garnered a total of 470,000 likes. In his past life, Lin Yi had never seen such a number of likes. Though in his previous life, he had once received a grade rating for his precise calculations by then experts had emerged like bamboo shoots after a rain, with various godly performances flooding the scene. His trivial grade performance hardly attracted any viewers, let alone the likes. However, the reborn Lin Yi was different. At this point in time, the other former experts were probably still familiarizing themselves with the game mechanics, making them unable to compete with him. Moreover, with the aid of the Tian Show operation plugin, and his own formidable brain, the extreme operations he executed would undoubtedly astonish the world. How could that not attract attention? Lin Yi glanced through the comments, most of which were filled with admiration for the... Of course, there were also a few people making sarcastic remarks suggesting it might all be staged, and that this was merely a scam. Lin Yi chose to ignore their unfounded speculations. If it were face-to-face, Lin Yi might have retorted. But for these frogs at the bottom of the well online, he had no interest in debating with them. The first grade reward of the entire server was currently lying in Lin Yi's backpack. However, his level was not yet sufficient to use this weapon. Yet regarding the skills and attributes of this weapon, Lin Yi's assessment was priceless. Although this weapon was only level 10, he felt its attributes would still be impressive even at level 30. Everyone believed this weapon enhanced the Dark Hunter's explosive power, but Lin Yi thought otherwise. The most terrifying aspect of this skill was its clearing ability. This clearing included the existing black mark on the enemy. It should be noted that before level 30, the Dark Hunter could not stack the passive skill black mark multiple times. In other words, if Lin Yi triggered the passive skill with his first arrow, no matter how many arrows he shot within 10 seconds thereafter, the passive skill would not activate again until the 10 seconds elapsed. However, with the Bow of Eternal Night's Destruction, if Lin Yi triggered the passive skill with his first arrow, and then triggered the weapon skill with his second arrow, the passive skill activated by the first arrow would be cleared. If the enemy did not die, Lin Yi could trigger the passive skill again with his third arrow. That was the true horror. It seems that after tomorrow's instance, Lin Yi needs to rapidly enhance his strength to use this early stage artifact of the Dark Hunter. Lin Yi shifted his gaze from the weapon to the exchange shop interface. He clearly remembered that after being selected for the highlights, he could redeem rewards in the exchange shop based on the number of likes. What good items could he exchange for with his 470,000 likes? Do you wish to exchange 47.59 W likes for 47 God points? Hearing the prompt beside his ear, Lin Yi unhesitatingly chose yes. Congratulations, exchange successful. Remaining unexchanged likes 0.59 W. In the next moment, the dazzling array of items in the shop nearly made Lin Yi's eyes blur. Within this shop, Lin Yi could exchange for a vast variety of items, such as weapons, armor, boots, accessories, potions, and more. Almost everything he might need could be obtained from this exchange shop. The prices varied widely, some as high as 100 God points, while others cost as little as 5 God points. All items were neatly categorized. The first section that caught Lin Yi's eye was the weapon area. Whether it was the Blood Warrior's greatsword or the Radiant Mage's magic staff, weapons of every class were available. But Lin Yi did not linger in the weapons section for long. He felt no need to browse weapons, as he would soon reach level 10 and begin using the Doom Eternal Bow. For now, the Doom Eternal Bow was the weapon he was most satisfied with. So Lin Yi turned his attention to armor. The exchange shop offered two types of armor: light armor and heavy armor. Light armor could be worn by all classes without affecting movement speed, but it provided less defense compared to heavy armor could only be equipped by the Exile Knight and Blood Warrior classes. Its advantage lay in superior defensive capabilities, while the drawback was a significant reduction in the wearer's movement speed. Players could choose according to their needs. At Lin Yi's current level, he could exchange for equipment ranging from level 5 to 10 in the shop. As for the trash level gear of level 1, he didn't even bother to glance at it. He could also save his God points in exchange for higher level equipment once he leveled up. However, Lin Yi did not choose that path. He understood clearly that he had to give his all in the first 3 instances, otherwise he would fail to obtain the class change lock, and Su Wanning would remain in her current state forever, let alone the possibility of buying one from others. There were too many uncertainties, and Lin Yi could not afford to gamble. That was something he could never accept. Therefore, he would not abandon any resource currently available to him. After reviewing all the armor pieces, Lin Yi shifted his gaze to the boots. There was only one type of boot, and all classes could wear them without distinction. The higher the quality of the boots, the greater the speed boost they provided, and naturally the higher the price. Finally, there were accessories. Weapons, armor, and boots mainly served to provide substantial base attributes. Accessories were different. Their most important aspect was the skill they granted, while the base attributes were secondary. If an accessory had a suitable skill, some players might even use a level 10 accessory at level 50. Lin Yi studied each piece of equipment one by one, calculating how to spend his God points to maximize cost. As Lin Yi pondered, Long Yangqiu and the others in the Divine Tower had just calmed down from their excitement. They turned their gaze back to Lin Yi, who was hesitating in the exchange shop, and began chatting idly. Long Yangqiu was the first to speak, and breaking his usual habit, he pulled out a cigarette, lit it, and took a savoring puff. He hadn't smoked in a long time. But today he was in high spirits, and an itch inside made him want to have just one. What do you think, Hellbae? Yuan gently pushed up her glasses and analyzed 47 God points is actually quite a lot. I guess Lin Yi will exchange for a level 5 weapon, armor, and boots. That would cost about 30 God points, leaving him enough for some potions. This would most evenly boost his strength. Many nodded in agreement. But the shadow assassin expert who had spoken earlier raised a different opinion. He already has a reward weapon. Wouldn't buying another be a waste? I think he should get a good pair of boots to enhance. After all, he didn't allocate any attribute points to agility. The female preacher, frowning while fanning away the smoke in front of her, also chimed in with her analysis. I think he'll buy a good accessory. With his strength and the skill boost from an accessory, he'll definitely become even stronger. As everyone chattered, Lin Yi, seated in the classroom, had already made his choice. The first item he exchanged was indeed an accessory. The moment he laid eyes on it, Lin Yi immediately decided to exchange it. The female preacher proudly raised an eyebrow. I guessed right. Long Yangqiu let out a light laugh and said, Did you read the description of this accessory carefully? The female preacher froze and quickly looked at the accessory's info. Spiritual Energy Talisman, grade fine, available level 5. Upon taking damage, forms a spiritual energy shield lasting 3 seconds, blocking all damage. Within those 3 seconds, max 200 HP. This talisman can only be used once. It shatters upon activation. Exchange price 15 God points. Long Yangqiu took another drag of his cigarette and said with a hint of mockery, Clearly Lin Yi prepared this for Su Wanning. With this talisman, Su Wanning's safety will be greatly improved. With Lin Yi and Tang Junren's protection, getting through tomorrow's instance should be no problem. Lin Yi truly has deep feelings for Su Wanning. Unfortunately, Su Wanning will most likely not survive till the end. There has never been a record of a cursed spirit surviving. The others nodded regretfully. Then, he should exchange some equipment for himself next. Lin Yi was overjoyed as he gazed at the spirit energy amulet within his backpack, a satisfied smile naturally curling at the corners of his lips. Soon he selected the second piece of equipment to redeem. Yet what no one anticipated was that the second item turned out to be a suit of heavy armor. Purple gold lion armor grade exquisite, required level 5 HP, boost 120 armor, 5 redemption, cost 15 divine points. Upon seeing this equipment, the moralizing female priest was visibly taken aback, murmuring to herself, "That's not right. Isn't Lin Yi a dark hunter? He can't even wear heavy armor." Beside her, Long Yanxiu took a deep drag of his cigarette, his gaze turning profound as he set aside his earlier jesting and spoke slowly. He isn't getting it for himself. This heavy armor is meant for Tang Junren. Silence fell over everyone. They had all been speculating how Lin Yi would enhance his own strength, but none had considered that his second purchase would still be for his teammate. In wealth and prosperity, do not forget one another. Many knew this adage, yet few truly lived by it. Lin Yi's earlier words about regarding Tang Junren as his closest comrade were not spoken lightly. Even now, Lin Yi himself possessed neither a light armor nor any accessory. The weapon he had just obtained lay idle in his backpack, temporarily unusable. Yet the two pieces of equipment he had chosen were both for his teammates. Despite the dazzling array of temptations in the redemption shop, Lin Yi remained utterly unswayed. Was this the legendary spirit of self-sacrifice? The crowd fell into deep contemplation. Lin Yi was unaware of the emotions stirring within the Tongtian Tower. He continued earnestly selecting his equipment, having already spent 30 divine points, leaving him with only. Lin Yi now stood in the weapon zone, yet his attention was not on the longbow meant for a dark hunter. Soon he redeemed his third item. Red gold shield and shortsword grade exquisite, required level 5 shield defense, 1015 shortsword attack, 8 redemption, cost 10 divine points. Clearly this too was an item for Tang Junren. With only 7 divine points left, Lin Yi didn't waste them. He first spent 5 points on a pair of shoes for himself. Swift cloth boots grade common, required level 5 agility, 5 redemption, cost 5 divine points. These were extremely ordinary white grade boots. The 5 agility boost merely compensated for the balance deficit between ranged and melee professions. But for Lin Yi they sufficed. With his last 2 divine points, he chose to redeem potions. Basic battle recovery potion, usable in combat, restores 5 HP per second for 10 seconds. Redemption cost 1 divine point. Lin Yi redeemed 2 bottles to be prepared for emergencies. Thus all 47 divine points were spent, and Lin Yi was thoroughly satisfied. Yet within the Tongtian Tower the silence was deafening. Out of 47 divine points, only 5 had been used for himself. And those were the most ordinary white grade shoes. He had bought exquisite equipment for Su Wanning and Tang Junren, while he himself settled for white grade. Long Yankee, a cigarette ash fell onto his leg, but he didn't even notice. He genuinely wondered if someone like Lin Yi could truly exist. 47 divine points, and he only bought himself a pair of shoes. This kid, he's too foolish. How can such a person survive in this bizarre era of universal class transition? Long Yanxiu wasn't sure if he wanted to laugh or cry. He simply felt Lin Yi was naive. In the era of universal class transition, everyone believed their own survival was paramount. Even Long Yanxiu, as a team leader, never sacrificed his own resources to redeem equipment or other items for his teammates. To survive, each person must rely on their own efforts. Help only fosters dependence and complacency. Thus, accustomed to this selfishness, everyone was stunned when they encountered someone like Lin Yi. They felt both profound shock and an instinctive belief that Lin Yi was foolish. The moralizing female priest quietly wiped the tears from the corners of her eyes and said with a radiant smile, "He is indeed a bit foolish, but if I had the chance I would love to be his teammate, his comrade. Only with someone like him would I truly dare to entrust him with my back. As a priest, I have little self-preservation ability. In the instances I've participated in, many people use the pretext of protecting me to make excessive demands. I don't know how many instances I've stumbled through hiding and dodging. If not for my luck, I might have died long ago. I thought such teammates, such comrades simply didn't exist." By the end, the moralizing female priest's voice was choked with sobs. The other survivors remained silent. They were all pondering, is Lin Yi truly foolish? If someone asked Lin Yi that question, he would undoubtedly roll his eyes. Foolish? Of course not. How could a mind as sharp as Lin Yi's be foolish? He had calculated that with his intellect and skill, the attribute advantage at level 5 alone would allow him to easily clear instances without any equipment. Tang Junren, new to the era of universal class transition, was unfamiliar with everything and naturally needed better equipment to protect himself. With Tang Junren around, Su Wanning's safety could be more effectively guaranteed. Thus, Lin Yi could focus on completing the tasks within the instances. This was the reason Lin Yi chose to enhance Tang Junren's equipment attributes. Everything was in preparation for achieving the top ranking in the global instance leaderboard. In the classroom, when Lin Yi took out these items from his backpack, Su Wanning and Tang Junren were astounded, their mouths agape. So many pieces of equipment. Where did Lin Yi get them from? The classmates who noticed this scene instantly cast jealous glances over. Their desire to become teammates with Lin Yi grew even stronger. However, with Yi Meng's experience fresh in their minds, they dared not approach, only watching from afar with envy. Lin Yi handed the shield and heavy armor to Tang Junren. Tang Junren accepted them with trembling hands. He could see a faint green glow shimmering on the shield and armor. This was the equipment special effect exclusive to fine quality gear, in stark contrast to the novice shield he currently held. When he saw the shield's attributes, he was utterly stunned. The novice shield in his hand had a mere defense of 5, yet this fine shield's defense was 1015, a full 3 times higher. Lin Yi had explained to him that this range meant the defense value fluctuated with each instance. The minimum was 10, the maximum 15. As for the probability of this fluctuation, Lin Yi had studied it in his past life, and concluded it basically followed a normal distribution. Extremely low and extremely high values were both relatively rare. In most cases, the defense hovered around 12-13. This must be extremely valuable. Tang Junren gazed at the shield and heavy armor before him, deeply moved. Even as dull as Tang Junren was, he could understand how crucial a good piece of equipment would be in the era of universal class change. Important things were never cheap. Tang Junren felt an inexplicable warmth welling in his eyes. Brother Yi was far too kind to him. Was this what it meant to have comrades? Hearing Tang Junren's words, Lin Yi chuckled and waved his hand dismissively, his expression carefree as he said, "It's not valuable. As long as it strengthens our strength, nothing is valuable. Here, this accessory is for Su Wanning." Lin Yi's gentle gaze turned to Su Wanning as he handed the accessory over. It was an accessory somewhat resembling a jade pendant intricately carved with exquisite patterns, truly a work of art in the eyes of any girl. Su Wanning was captivated by the accessory the moment she saw it. Yet after all the times Lin Yi had saved her, how could she still accept his gifts with an easy conscience? She couldn't bring herself to accept Lin Yi's kindness so readily. Lin Yi, of course, knew her temperament very well. He had loved Su Wanning for 12 years and understood her character thoroughly. He could almost read every thought. Thus Lin Yi decisively took Su Wanning's arm and pressed the accessory into her hand, saying sternly, "Classmate Su, remember, I'm only lending this to you. I've kept a record of the expense. Your situation is special now. After you successfully change your class in the future, you must repay me, okay?" As if afraid she might refuse, he added, 9 out 13 return. Su Wanning looked at the accessory in her hand, still hesitant, and murmured, "Class change. When will I ever be able to change my class?" Lin Yi smiled brightly and said, "Very soon, trust me." Su Wanning paused, raised her head, and looked at Lin Yi's earnest face. Lin Yi's tone was as certain as when he answered math questions in class, unwavering. He firmly believed his answer could never be wrong. Such confident words warmed Su Wanning's heart. She broke into a smile, accepted the accessory, and looked seriously at Lin Yi, saying, "All right. Then it's a deal. I will definitely repay you. 9 out 13 return." Lin Yi was slightly dazed by Su Wanning's smile. In every night of his past life, he had recalled this smile countless times. Back then, he had furiously asked himself why he hadn't confessed his feelings earlier. Lin Yi didn't know. Perhaps it was his obsession with mathematics, wanting to solve the unique answer in Su Wanning's heart before revealing his own. Heaven had granted Lin Yi a second chance at life, and this time he would not let it go. Tang Junren and Su Wanning had already put on their equipment. Tang Junren's heavy armor and shield glowing with a faint green light made him appear more steadfast. The inferiority and cowardice in his eyes seemed to have vanished. Now, thanks to the equipment, Tang Junren's attributes had changed. Tang Junren level 5 HP 560 includes 120 from heavy armor attack, 28, includes 8 from weapon magic power, 20 mana, 150 agility, 32 luck. 0 Tang Junren's HP was terrifyingly high. Bear in mind, most people were still at level 1 with around 100 HP. Tang Junren had nearly 6 times that. Even Lin Yi, also at level 5, only had 374. Combined with the shield's defense and the passive skill's block damage reduction, Tang Junren had finally become a true tank. Now, if he were to endure the combined assault of Mei Lian and her group, he could withstand at least 150 attacks. Truly, you could stand there and let them hit you without dying. Su Wanning's exquisite beauty paired with the spiritual energy talisman was a perfect match. The talisman hung on her chest, shimmering with a moving light. Lin Yi himself put on the swift cloth boots he had redeemed, raising his agility to 35. Lin Yi hadn't forgotten that Tang Junren's performance had also been selected by the highlight reel feature. His actions should have garnered quite a few likes. After checking, Tang Junren told Lin Yi he had 5,300 likes. Lin Yi nodded slightly in satisfaction and then told Tang Junren to exchange for 5 potions. Thus, all rewards for the 3 were fully redeemed. Next, they would wait for the first disaster instance to arrive tomorrow, letting this calm before the storm pass. Lin Yi had already briefed Su Wanning and Tang Junren on the general setup of this dungeon in the private chat channel. Tang Junren and Su Wanning were curious about how Lin Yi knew this, and he casually explained that he had seen it in the system introduction. The scenes in the disaster dungeon are mostly derived from commonly encountered places in everyday life. However, like the current Blue Star, these places have also experienced bizarre disasters where any object or animal could transform into an extremely dangerous monster. The ultimate goal of the dungeon is to defeat the final boss. In addition to defeating the BOSS, there are various side stories and puzzles with more unlocked side stories leading to a higher final evaluation of the dungeon. Tang Junren and Su Wanning, who had never experienced the dungeon before, were quite nervous, especially Su Wanning. She was very prone to dying as her health could hardly withstand even the slightest attack. Even with the spiritual energy amulet, she only had one chance. It was already late at night, and Lin Yi urged Tang Junren and Su Wanning to get some rest and recuperate, while he would keep watch for the first half of the night and wake Tang Junren at 3. Tang Junren quickly nodded and lay down on the table, forcing himself to sleep so as not to delay the night watch after 3. However, Lin Yi had no intention of waking him up at all. He would keep watch all night himself. Tang Junren and Su Wanning needed better rest to face the dungeon tomorrow. The 3 tables formed a large bed with Su Wanning lying in the innermost part, Lin Yi in the middle, and Tang Junren on the edge. Lin Yi looked at the time displayed by the system. It was 11 o'clock at night. Yet the classroom environment remained quite noisy. Everyone in the class was filled with pessimistic emotions, their minds tense with fear of the unknown dungeon, making it impossible for them to calm down. It must be said that people can act quite crazily when waiting for death. For instance, right now Lin Yi could clearly hear the sounds of a man and a woman breathing heavily in the upper right corner of the classroom. This made Lin Yi feel quite embarrassed. That couple was making the most of their time before the apocalypse, enjoying things they had never experienced before. This scenario was not unique. There was also a couple in the upper left corner and another in the lower right corner. Lin Yi and the others occupied the lower left corner. This strange sound mixed with all sorts of chaotic noises composed the final melody before death. On this cool summer night, as the night breeze brushed against his hair, Lin Yi felt a bit irritable listening to the clamor that pierced his ears. Lin Yi felt anxious. He didn't know whether the dungeon tomorrow would be random or follow the order of his previous life experiences. After all, too many things had changed since his rebirth. For example, the early unlocking of the highlight reel feature was something he had not experienced in his past life. Along with the strange prefixes displayed on his sky-high operation plugin, Lin Yi began to doubt everything he was currently experiencing. He now seriously suspected that everything they were going through was being observed and manipulated by someone. However, Lin Yi was completely powerless to stop any of it. Lin Yi shook his head to clear his thoughts and looked at the corner of the system interface where the sky-high operation plugin was displayed. He wondered how much astonishment value he had accumulated during this time. Since binding the sky-high operation plugin after his rebirth, he had already acquired the skills of rapid arrow drawing technique, curved arrow top-tier version, and invincible evasion technique. These 3 techniques had provided Lin Yi with immense help. Otherwise, he would have probably died long ago. Without Lin Yi's protection, Su Wanning would definitely not have survived. Everything would have ended. Lin Yi sincerely thanked the sky-high operation plugin. Thanks to the help of the invincible evasion technique, most of his actions had nearly always been a matter of escaping death. Therefore, Lin Yi felt that the astonishment value this time would certainly not be low. At least 500 points, right? Forget it, he shouldn't be so greedy, 300 points would be fine. While guessing, Lin Yi opened the interface of the sky-high operation plugin. The next moment, the plugin's announcement echoed in his mind. Congratulations. You have successfully obtained 1050 points of astonishment value. Lin Yi felt a buzzing sensation in his head. How could this be? How could there be so much? Over 1,000. This is amazing. Without time to be surprised, Lin Yi hurriedly opened the acquisition record, which would document the reasons for the astonishment value gained. Only then did Lin Yi understand. The fact that he received ins-level evaluation for his spectacular actions shocked many players on the Huaxiao server, and more people had witnessed his actions, which caused a stir and resulted in a lot of astonishment value. In addition, Lin Yi discovered that his purchasing of equipment had actually surprised a few people. He was somewhat puzzled. Was his equipment exchange process that shocking? Upon closer inspection, the ones who were surprised were precisely those survivors Lin Yi found strange. He hadn't expected that they could see his equipment exchange interface. Could they also see his plugin interface? Lin Yi guessed they could not. But it didn't matter. What he should consider now was how best to spend this over 1,000 aston. Currently, the exchange interface of the plugin had only unlocked 2 major categories. One was basic techniques, and the other was signature techniques. Signature techniques are characterized by being quite expensive, and Lin Yi did not recognize those people. So he did not plan to exchange them. After pondering for a moment, Lin E first spent 300 astonishment value to upgrade his invincible evasion technique to the second level.